Good morning, guys. Welcome to episode 17 of the Wrestling Hypothesis podcast. Here for your Saturday, May 9th, 2020. Hope you're all doing well, safe and sound. I am the ABA, of course. Joining me as always is Richard.
Hello, everyone.
Ricardo.
What's up, guys?
King Kenny.
Yeah, I had my OJ. I'm ready to go. Let's go.
That OJ. And the first lady of the show, lastly, the lovely Tara.
Hello, beautiful people. Oh my gosh, my voice is raspy. Sorry.
All right, so as you guys know, this podcast is available to listen to on various different podcast platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, Radio Public, and Google Podcasts, as well as YouTube. Go on, give us a subscribe over on our YouTube channel to make sure that you are all kept up to date for bonus content. If you are listening via Apple Podcasts, please be sure to give us a star rating as well as some thoughts on what you think of our show. You can like our official page over on Facebook to keep up with the latest updates on the show, as well as leaving us a review on there if you so choose. And lastly, if you haven't done so already, you can check out episodes 1 through 16 using any of the aforementioned platforms, as well as visiting our website, anchor.fm/wrestling-hypothesis. So, to start things off on this week's episode, Money in the Bank will be taking place tomorrow night at WWE's Performance Center, which is where they've been holding all of their shows lately, including WrestleMania just last month due to the current pandemic we're all in. Let's just get into it with the match card here. We have Bayley against Tamina for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Tamina got the title shot after beating Sasha Banks on SmackDown a couple weeks ago, I should say, which I would have went with just because that's the main storyline in that SmackDown Women's division that is worth a damn thing. And, you know, even if they didn't want to do that match just yet, say they want to go for it at SummerSlam, out of all the people to challenge Bayley, you have Tamina Snuka in the role. Yeah, like no effort, no thought put into this match. And Bayley's retaining. I think Bayley should retain, and I think Bayley will retain.
It's just funny that it's Tamina. I don't know, like what I have a question, and I've been wondering this for like a very long time. What is Tamina's character?
You don't have one.
Okay, because I thought I was going crazy. I'm like, what is
the thing is about Tamina is like she's been in the company for 10 years, and all she's ever known for is either being a bodyguard for someone else or just being in the background for no reason. Like, she has no character, no personality, none of that.
That must suck. That's like
you could tell that she's a very, very forced individual within the women's roster that they have. Like, she's extremely forced. So
it's so crazy. Like, this is your shot and you're irrelevant. How's that even possible?
Like, she hasn't been relevant since she debuted.
I'm just gonna say
pretty much, yeah. Tamina.
I'm just gonna say Bayley wins, easy win, easy victory. That's it.
Yep. Agreed. Moving on, we have the New Day defending their SmackDown Tag Team titles against Miz and Morrison, against the Forgotten Sons, against Lucha House Party in a fatal four-way match. I completely forgot that the Forgotten Sons are on the main roster and have been since WrestleMania. You know, they've won against the majority of the other teams on the tag division over on SmackDown, as they are actually being booked strongly, relatively speaking. I really don't care much for this. It can be good. It can be a cluster. We'll see. And I have the New Day to retain the tag titles.
I have the New Day retaining as well.
Same. I mean, they're the only ones that they're the only, like, they're just literally one of the big three tag titles that actually get any kind of a push. So I see it also.
Agreed.
Yeah. We have Braun Strowman defending his Universal Championship against Bray Wyatt. They're promoting Firefly Funhouse Bray Wyatt for this match, interestingly enough, and not as The Fiend. It's more than likely because they don't want Fiend to lose handily to Strowman, because that's what I think will happen here. And honestly, looking at it from my perspective, this is a lose-lose situation, regardless of the result. So let's have Braun Strowman retain, for instance. They go with that scenario. Then what? It harms Bray, and Braun won't gain anything by beating him. Now, the flip side of things, say they have Wyatt win the championship back. That means that him dropping the title to Goldberg back in February didn't accomplish anything. It won't help him in the slightest if he wins back the championship here. I have Braun to retain.
I got retain.
Okay.
I was waiting. I was like, when is he gonna go rant? Where is this?
All right. So here we go. The only match that I really actually think is worthy of talking about outside of the Raw champions, and I call it Raw's champion. I don't call it Universal champion. I call it Raw's champion. Anyway, it's always been Raw's champion. It's never been the WWE champion. I don't believe in that. I think Bray wins the title because that's just typical WWE fashion. I don't believe this to be any more than maybe a 5 to 7 minute match. Yeah, it's pretty disappointing, really, because considering the fact that
you hit it on the mark.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's very disappointing. I mean, you take the champion off Bray, you put it on Goldberg, and you take it off Goldberg, you put it on Braun, and then you take it off Braun and put it on Bray. That seems to be I don't know. Right.
It's like a weird duck goose.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They're playing hot potato with the title.
Yeah. Keep in mind that Braun Strowman wasn't even the original plan to beat Goldberg at WrestleMania. It was supposed to be Roman.
Right.
So it's like this wasn't even in the works. Braun holding the title as it is right now.
Exactly. Hence why they're playing the hot potato with the title. You know, they're thinking, okay, well, this is Roman's division to begin with, right? We absolutely don't know when the hell he's gonna come back.
Well, actually, I'm kind of curious on what they're gonna do when he does come back, because I know that they are salty that he left. So it's gonna be, I don't think it's gonna be his division anymore because of the salt.
Oh nah. Oh, okay. So here's what I think, because I think some crazy ass shit is going with Roman, right? And I don't know what the hell it is specifically. But let me tell you something, man. Let me tell you something. Whatever it is, Roman's coming back to Roman's spot. Trust me on that. All right. They've wasted so much of good wrestling to get Roman over. That backing off of him right now would be the absolute worst thing you possibly can. Think about all the years
but I think
that they've invested in him.
They're salty about him not being there, so it might kind of shift a little bit.
I feel like they're only going to be salty as long as he's going to be out. Like by the time he's able to come back and work for them, I think everything's going to go back to the way things were.
But
with his spot on top.
But as of yesterday, Roman said this. He said that
it's his yard.
He's ready to come back. He's literally ready to come back. The main reason why that he took the leave of absence was because his wife gave birth to twins. So he told them, I'm taking a break.
Oh, he got twins? That's what's up.
He has twins. Yeah. Another set of twins.
Another set of twins, too.
Another set of twins.
Jesus Christ.
So basically, he said it's his yard.
Yeah. So, but he did say, like, yo, I'm ready to come back. He did say that. Just a matter of when.
Of course he's ready to come back. Of course. And you know why this is so disappointing yet again? Because we're talking about Roman. We're not even talking about Braun and Bray, because we don't give a shit about that.
You know,
we're
it's
talking
so
about
crazy.
The guy that's not even in the match.
You know what's so crazy? A Superman punch is going to be the end of Bray's career.
Yeah. Sacrifice him at the altar of whatever good wrestling is, man. Whatever the fuck is left of it, at least.
Pretty much, yeah. But what about the rest of us? Who do we think is getting the W here?
Oh, Braun Strowman, easy. Because you can't what WWE's gonna do to him is that, like, they waited so long for him to become champion, and most fans, I guess, waited for so long to be champion. You can't get rid of him just like that.
Yeah.
After he won.
Abba, truthfully speaking, no one's the winner here. The only winner I can give you is Roman. That's it. Like, that's the only winner. And he's not even in the match. So the winner is Roman.
I'm with Kenny on this one.
I agree. He's going to come back to that top spot, that nice, comfy spots that they're just keeping warm for him. You know, this is just something to keep them busy. This is something to fill someone, to put somebody in that top spot until Roman comes back.
Yep, transitional champion at its finest.
There you go. We have Drew McIntyre against Seth Rollins for the WWE Championship. McIntyre, I got to say this, has done as best of a job he could have as champion with everything going on in the world and in pro wrestling. You know, whenever I would go catch up with Raw later on, I'm always seeing McIntyre having fun with his promos and his matches. He's putting in the effort. And, you know, he just has the vibe and feel of a champion.
I feel like Drew has really came into his own now. I do feel like he's a victim of the circumstances that actually, you know, that are happening right now, given, you know, the situation of Corona. So him being champion right now doesn't really take center stage. I mean, it's another yet again disappointing start to a wrestler that we all actually fuck with. Like, he's the only champion right now that we all actually think he's great, right? Like,
I agree. I feel like I hate that he got his chance right now, like right at this time, because it's such a shitty time to be champion, because it's kind of like, it kind of seems like, oh, it's not well-deserved, but it is actually a well-deserved time for him. So it kind of sucks that right now is when he's champion and not some other time.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Speaking of which, it seems like everyone's already starting to turn on McIntyre. If you guys have been paying attention on social media, everyone's saying, "Oh, McIntyre is overrated. He's plain old boring. He's not doing it for me." It's like, what the hell do these people want?
No, but the thing is, like, this is the same thing we've seen over and over and over again. Every single time they decide to push a face towards a main event picture, this happens all the time. So this is nothing new. Like, the one thing that we actually want, now fans are complaining, "Oh, he's overrated. He's doing this. He's doing that." I'm like, what did you expect? This is what you wanted, and now it's like you turn about face. So it's like,
the one thing that I don't like is that I felt like McIntyre should have still kept his thing as a heel.
It could have worked.
Because him as a heel was just like the greatest thing. Like, you never knew when he was gonna strike. He was just like a savage, and he, like, the way he wrestled, like, it just, like, his whole entire demeanor is more towards being like a heel. So I felt like if he was reigning as a heel and not like Brock heel, I mean just like a general heel, I think it would have worked like wonderfully for him. And it's so weird because I never really even saw him as face, even when WWE pushed it, because it just seemed like he was a competitor going towards Brock. So it's kind of weird that now it's like, I'm a good guy, because none of your storylines before like lined up with that.
I agree. The fact that if Drew McIntyre was a heel, it brings more interest towards him as a character in WWE. Like, if he became a heel, almost as similar to Brock Lesnar, people won't predict on what is going to happen or what will happen in the upcoming weeks or months whenever he's champion, and it brings more cachet to him as a champion. That way, like, he gets to flourish his character more. But the fact that he's a heel, he's extremely limited on what's going on because of the virus. He can't really do much. So when he was a heel, so whenever he decides to come back a heel, then you'll see the true flourish, him as a champion, as a heel.
Well, let's understand something. When we're talking about the topic of Drew McIntyre, he was never meant to be loved by the fans.
Exactly.
Like this notion that, you know, Drew's supposed to be the next crazy ass babyface since Daniel Bryan or John Cena. It's just not true. It's not. Like this man for most of his career was hated, was vilified, at least, you know, as far as back as I can remember it. So this comes
I
as
don't remember a time that he was a face, so that's on like it's
Like,
weird.
besides the one stint he had on NXT when he was a face, most of his career was a heel. And when he was a heel, he excelled. He was, like, back then, he was Intercontinental Champion. He was Tag Team Champion for a little bit of time with Cody. TNA. No. TNA, he was a face.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was a face the whole time.
I mean, I'll be completely honest, just to give my thoughts on it. I think McIntyre is one of those few people out there in wrestling that I feel can be an effective babyface and a heel when given the opportunity. We've seen his babyface. We've seen what he can do as a babyface previously in NXT, like Richard pointed out just now. And I thought he did a pretty good job. He was that heroic, formidable champion. He did it. I think he knocked it out of the park with that.
Well,
But don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that
yeah.
he's overly better at being a face than a heel.
No, I mean,
I just think that he can work both sides of it.
It's not even that. It's just kind of that there was no recent push of him being like, there was no storyline making him a face. So it's just like, where is this coming from? Just because he's champion. For me personally, I think it just makes more. I mean, I guess we'll have to see like when fans come back, but it's just a very shitty time for him to be.
But hold up though. What sort of trials and obstacles did Drew McIntyre, overcome? Like what was this path? Like, was this path to that top spot riddled with fucking thorns in the road? No.
He got fired by WWE in 2014.
No. Hold up. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about storyline wise. I'm talking about the drive. Okay. Like Daniel Bryan when he won his title at WrestleMania 30. Like that was an amazing story because you could see his elevation from the mid-card guy to the top guy, like in a matter of months. Where was that elevation for Drew McIntyre? He never had that. So, of course, people are not going to, accept him,
They pushed him sporadically, and that's what it was.
They were very inconsistent with how they were booking him, yeah.
Right.
And it seemed kind of lazy when they booked him this time for his championship win. That's
true, right. So, there's some missing pieces there, right? But what I will say about this is this. Drew McIntyre hasn't had, his championship reign, it'd be crazy to judge his championship reign already, right? Because he just got it, right? But if you want to do so, right, do so with the shit that he's got to work with. He has nothing to work with. Zero. You look at Jon Moxley, man. Jon, he's struggling right now.
Yo.
Okay? John, look. Say what you want about Jon. Right? Jon Moxley, he's great and all, but he's struggling right now. You can see it. And that's because there's lack of fans, man.
They kind of also have, like AEW is kind of different in the fact that they still have like their wrestlers out there. So they still have like somewhat of like an audience, which I really like. That there's still some kind of presence, but I find it so stupid when WWE has their wrestlers talking to an empty crowd and then the only person responding is an announcer.
I agree, but I want to add to what Kenny said earlier about like there was no official road or path to Drew McIntyre being champion. Like that shit. Like Richard, was it WWE 24 that they did on Drew McIntyre?
It was it 24? It was Chronicle.
That was the most bullshit Chronicle episode I've ever seen.
How so?
There was no path. There's no path.
Mm.
There was no path for him being champion. The only type of path that was set for him was the Royal Rumble. But the thing is, with the Royal Rumble, that's set by default, right? I don't see him struggling outside of WWE. I don't see him being a shitty-ass wrestler because he became a better wrestler since he left WWE. Since he left, right? So like let's look back at Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre as champion currently right now, based on what you said, Abba. Don't get me wrong, he's doing his thing on Raw, right? But what I'm looking forward to on Money in the Bank is to see how good he is as WWE champion against Seth Rollins. Since we didn't talk about Seth Rollins, I'm gonna talk about Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is the one person besides Lesnar that would show you the reason on why he became a champion. He actually had a path that he had to go through to become champion, right? We saw his path set since his NXT days, right? And became a successful both as a face and a heel, and fought one of the biggest main eventers in John Cena in his prime, right? Which I think is his true rival. I don't care what anybody says.
Those were some fantastic matches, bro.
Exactly.
Those
were some great matches between Seth Rollins and John Cena, right? So what I'm saying is I will not be surprised at all if Seth Rollins wins that match. Now, I'm not saying I'm picking Seth Rollins. I'm just saying I won't be surprised if he wins, because to be honest with you, I'd rather have him as champion currently right now in these predicaments, because he could actually sell a show.
That's true. That's true. Seth can carry the show now, at least at this very moment, better than Drew can. But that doesn't mean he should be. But that doesn't mean he should be champion.
No, again, I'm not saying he should be champion.
I understand.
I think it's because, I mean, I kind of see your point only because he's never really been champion, so it's kind of hard to really maneuver to like what to do. I mean, there is a path for him as far as personally, but like the thing is, your personal life doesn't really transition into a wrestling story. So I guess it's kind of like tough because like everyone on the outside knows that. That's why a lot of people wanted him to be champion, because people know on his path on how hard and how long it took for him to actually be in the spotlight with WWE.
Hey, can I ask you guys a question?
As far as the push, that never happened until like recently for some weird reason.
Can I ask? Actually, Tara, I need to ask you this because you brought this up a couple of minutes ago. You said, who's Tamina, right? And the answer was, we don't know. Who the hell the hell is Drew McIntyre? Do we know who Drew McIntyre truly is?
Well, you're talking about story-wise?
No, I'm talking about somebody that that people can get behind.
Like
we
as
know
a champion?
Like we knew who Daniel Bryan was, right?
No, but that's the thing. There was no storyline because before they were pushing this angle on he was just thirsty for the title. Like that's what he was. Like, I mean, at first he came in as like when he first was introduced on the roster, it was Dolph's bodyguard.
No. All the way around.
No,
all the way
actually, not even. If we can take it back much further than that, like back to 2009 when they introduced him by Vince McMahon himself as the chosen one.
Yep.
That he's going to be his next handpicked star.
No.
That fizzled out. That fizzled out. He didn't do as well as we thought he would. He was a failed experiment pretty much in his first run with the company. They put him in 3MB. He was a running joke alongside the other two. I think
the only reason why the chosen one...
he got his termination papers.
The chosen one like kind of fizzled out only because fans didn't want another Super Cena, and that's what essentially they were trying to build Drew to be.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about him coming back for this title reign. You saw that when he was. I'm talking about like how when he came in, he was first paired with Dolph, and then it was this mysteriousness that came with him. It was like this dark figure. Then he turned on Dolph and he became even more dark, and he wanted to just go with this thing. Then they scratched that. We didn't see him for a little bit, and then he comes back. And then it's like he just randomly comes just for the title, but they didn't really give him a storyline, which it kind of doesn't make sense because, like, again, when he did do these vicious attacks, it was, again, vicious is the main word that they said themselves. You don't see, like, here comes the savior coming to save the fans or whatever. He was never that. So that's why it's weird that he is what he is now. Right. It just seems sloppy. Like I said, it's like just a really bad. It's just a really, really bad time for him to be like champion,
Yep.
which sucks because he deserves it. But it's like
they didn't want another Super Cena, but guess what? They got it anyway with Roman.
yeah, I don't know why that he went so like head over easy.
Pick your poison, right?
But honestly, he would have been a better Super Cena than Roman.
Yeah. Oh no doubt about that.
No question.
If he got that right push, like if they gave him that initial push and didn't just opt out for Roman, he would have been good.
So for my pick, for my pick of this match, Drew wins. Makes no sense to for him to lose the title
here,
right now.
You might as well.
Exactly. Then you could say that just validates, if they were to take the title off him so soon to Rollins, it's just going to validate what people have been saying this whole time on social media since him winning the title.
Yeah.
He will never get another title reign if they take it off him. I guarantee.
Pretty much, yeah. But
that's true.
But
like,
think about this. Listen. Oh, go ahead.
I picked Drew to win as well. But if they do change hands to Seth Rollins, I also won't be mad as well.
So you agree with me?
Huh?
You agree with me?
Yeah, like if Drew wins, he retains. That's fine. But if Seth wins, you can't get mad because you have something to work for when Seth Rollins becomes champion. Like he has a plethora of stars that he can actually face since he's a heel.
I cannot believe I'm saying this shit right now. And on a regular day, I'd be on y'all asses about how, you guys are wrong. But, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, guys. I mean, Seth looks like a fucking champion right now. He's on a fucking roll.
Wait.
Wait,
hold on, bro. I'm sorry to cut you off, Richard, but I just want Kenny to say Ricardo was right. That's all I'm going to say. I want him to say I was right.
I mean, listen, Ricardo, you got Corona working for you, man. So you're right. You're right.
Thank you.
And it's by default, okay? It's by default.
Yeah, exactly.
And plus, not only that, Seth is the one that's carrying this rivalry from the get-go. Like, he's really
had a story. That's what.
No, exactly.
That's the only thing that makes it like okay. Like, he has an actual story. Like, he has a background. Like, that's what I'm saying. If they just stuck to it, we would have been good. But they don't stick to nothing. There's no story. There is no champion story that makes sense right now, except Charlotte.
No,
we're gonna get to that later.
The goats. Say.
Yeah, we'll get to
Charlotte later.
Charlotte in a little bit.
I love talking about the goat.
Yeah, but as for my thoughts on this match and the outcome, I'll be surprised if they just have the one match with a clean finish and not drag this out to another pay-per-view or two. But I do have Drew to retain, and I predict it will be via disqualification, so they can drag it out.
I see that.
And finally, we have the Money in the Bank matches for the men's and women. Now, I pair these two matches up together into one because they'll be happening at the same time.
Yes. Good call there, man. Good call. The faster we get over this, the better.
anything but Money in the Bank discussion, right?
The one match of the entire card that's going to be one big-ass clusterfuck. The fact that these two matches are going to happen at the exact same time. I don't know how the fuck they're going to do this in terms of how they're going to, like, camera angles and shit like that. They got to go over, like, 3 to 4 floors to get to the roof and shit like that. If I have to pick for the men's, I'm still rooting for Aleister Black, honestly, for the men's. For the women, obviously, it's going to be Shayna Baszler. And they kind of fucked themselves over because that's the episode on Raw that just passed. They just pretty much gave away the winner. They said next week on Raw, Becky Lynch is going to confront the winner of the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match. I'm like, you just gave away the winner without even saying it. I'm like, why would the fuck would you do that? But obviously,
I don't know about that. But
no, they said that. It's pretty much they said that on the commercial.
No, here's
Richard, man, damn, wait. Sorry to cut you off there, Ricardo, but let me just say something here. Richard, that's great and all, but you just like pretty much leaped 10 steps ahead of what I was going to get at. But no, you're good. Let me just set up the premise for this match. There is some twists, as we know, with this year's Money in the Bank matches for both the male and the female. How it'll work this year is that both matches will start at the ground floor of WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut, and they will try to all make their way up into the rooftop of the building, where a ring with ladders will be set up at. Now, we know going into this event that WWE have already taped both the Money in the Bank matches, apparently. And it was an all-day affair where they taped the matches, from early on in the morning all the way through midnight the following day. We can expect for these matches to have a cinematic feel, which, is a pretty good thing, given the praise we've given to the Boneyard match and the Firefly Funhouse matches, respectively, at WrestleMania. And also, both these matches will be occurring at the exact same time. So if anyone listening loves those clusterfuck matches, this will be the show for you. First things first, we're gonna discuss the women's iteration of the match, which consists of Asuka, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Lacey Evans, Dana Brooke, and Carmella. Asuka's been one of the few highlights of these empty Raw shows. I would like to see her win the briefcase, but I really don't see it happening at the same time. As for the SmackDown side of things, no one there does it for me. They do nothing for me at all. Lacey Evans, Dana Brooke, Carmella. They're just thrown to the wayside. They're all there for filler. If anything, I'm just looking at the Raw side of this match, because as much as I don't care for Nia Jax, it would not surprise me in the slightest for them to have her win. But she isn't my pick. I have Shayna Baszler to win the match and the briefcase as a way to right the wrongs of their mistake at WrestleMania.
So for me, actually, before I get my thoughts in order here, so translation, what Abba was pretty much getting at when he was talking to you, Rich, is shut the fuck up until I say you guys can go. All right? Translation. Just so that we all know, we should all shut the fuck up when we're about to transition into the next topic so that Abba can go and review that shit. And then, and only then, can we go on with our thoughts. Now.
Well, I never said anything anywhere near that cruelty, but
I understand.
You were just
I feel like I got to look out for you on that, Abba. Okay, because you run the show. Okay.
Well, Richard, say your point on what you were saying.
Well, no, he'll wait. He will wait until I go. Okay. All right. Now, number one, the female that is going out is what, mark my words, I said it, you heard it here first. Okay? The female that's walking out with the briefcase is Lacey Evans.
Oh God, why?
Why? I'll tell you why. Listen, they're big on Lacey Evans right now.
Oh God.
Giving the briefcase to someone like Shayna Baszler is, one, a little too predictable, and two, it makes no sense. It makes no sense from the point of she's already had a title shot, right? She's already had a title shot. She's already, established. She's already a badass. Why the fuck would a badass like her need a title or a briefcase to begin with, right? At least, the consensus is that she can actually go on, right, and challenge for the title at any time. Okay? So that being number one. And who else is? Oh, and Asuka too. Asuka's already a champion. She's already a veteran now, right? Briefcases usually don't go to established stars, right? Unless you really, really want to, keep them in the public's view for quite a long time. I.e., Charlotte. When she won the Royal Rumble last year, she didn't need to win the Royal Rumble last year, but she did. Right? So Asuka winning the briefcase would pretty much mean the same thing, right? It's a safe bet. It's too safe. I think they're probably going to try to do something to, spice up the unpredictability of it all. And I think the winner is Lacey Evans.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, just to add to that before we go on, Ricardo, I know we're not doing dark horse picks or anything, but if I had to pick a dark horse pick for this match, who I could definitely see winning, it probably would be Lacey Evans. So I actually agree with everything Kenny said there.
I'm gonna have to agree with Kenny as well, man. Kenny, you brought up major points, because Because let's look at all the people. Actually, no, the most important people on this match. Kenny brought up Asuka and Shayna Baszler. Two females that doesn't need a title to validate themselves or a briefcase to validate themselves as competitors. Shayna Baszler could easily go up against Becky Lynch no matter what. Everybody knows that. The same goes with Asuka. The reason why Kenny chose Lacey Evans, and I'm agreeing with Kenny that he chose Lacey Evans, is because Lacey Evans is the one female that needs the most help in terms of her status as a competitor in the WWE. Everybody else validated on who they truly are except Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans needs a briefcase. Lacey Evans needs a legitimate title shot, or so to say, and Lacey Evans needs to establish herself as a bona fide star in the game. So everything that Kenny said, he's right. I agree with him. It was going to be Lacey Evans.
I mean, the only reason why I agree with this is not because she is talented, because I feel like she is like a Carmella, in my opinion. I don't think she is really that much talented in ring. I don't really even think that she's that talented on the mic. I just think for whatever reason they just push her. But I do see this as a possibility because of the fact that they push her so much.
Right.
Because she is trash. Oh my God. She is trash.
Well, let's not forget who the MVP was in that match at WrestleMania. I think a lot of people would just by looking at that match and watching it from start to finish, it's very difficult for you to keep your eyes off of Lacey Evans. It was a hectic match. It was bodies flying everywhere in that women's match for the SmackDown women's title at WrestleMania. But look, make no mistake about it, man. Lacey showed up. She showed up, and I can't knock that. I'm not a Lacey Evans fan, and I'm not clamoring for her to hold the title either. But the fact remains, she was dominant in that match, and look no further than her to win the briefcase on Sunday.
I think what makes it cringy for her, to me, is the fact that she's gotten so many title shots, and they're all just so unwarranted. Like, none of the title shots make any sense. None of her storylines make sense. And, I'm all for this whole woman empowerment thing, but, like, she has never done anything in her storyline to show anything that's, like, going with her character. So, I don't know. It's just, like, for me, I'm like, it's like what you're saying. What is the story? Like, what is it? Who is she? What are we going for?
Yeah. And I made my point about her establishing herself as a star in the WWE because she needs the Money in the Bank briefcase.
Right, exactly. Like, you could do that with the briefcase because the time that you have to work with is a year, right?
Exactly.
So you can build a story in a year. You can get people to give a shit about her, right? And I just don't know the way they go about it because
because they could just as easily have the briefcase winner cash in later that night, if not the following Raw or SmackDown. They've done that with the women's Money in the Bank winners the past 2 years.
And plus, she could change. She could become a heel, and she's better known as a heel than a face. So if she becomes Money in the Bank, and she becomes a heel, it'll build her even more character than before.
Honestly, for me, I just want to see her in like a storyline that has nothing to do with the championship, just to kind of build her some kind of ground in the main roster.
But the thing is this: that if she does hypothetically wins the briefcase, she will always be, as long as she's holding the briefcase, she will always be in the championship picture, no matter what, because she has the briefcase. No matter what. Whether if it's Becky, whether if it's Bayley, or whomever, she will always be in a championship picture. If she wins the briefcase.
We know that Captain Obvious.
No,
We're,
I'm saying I'm going
we're
off
talking
what
about
said.
we are talking about on how Lacey Evans needs to establish herself as a character.
No, obviously, we know that.
But if she becomes a heel, because the main thing is about Lacey Evans. If she establishes herself as a heel, which the fact the way that Kenny said she has a year to do, until I'll say WrestleMania time, right? The character will go upward in terms of her being a status as a main star in the game. So out of every single female that's in that match, she needs it the most. And every single female in that match is a former champion but her.
Look, I think the main point that I'm trying to make is this, right? Now, look, I'm in no way, shape, or form, comparing Lacey Evans to Seth Rollins, right? I think Seth has enough talent in his pinky than Lacey Evans has in her entire body. But that's besides the point. My main point is this. You look at Seth Rollins and how he evolved, right? How he made the briefcase mean something again when he had it, right? Like, the point of where he had it to the point of where he cashed it in, the briefcase was caved in. Like, you look at that and look at what we thought about Seth Rollins before he cashed in his briefcase at WrestleMania. That's something they could do here. They have a huge opportunity right here to make Lacey a good contender. Yeah, she's not that great, and you can fix all that in ring stuff. Okay, you can, but you can't fix, like, you can't make someone be a star. You can't.
Let's be real.
As much as you want to
the
force
only
it,
reason why she's getting that push is because she's a blonde and how she looks.
Yes.
That is really the only reason.
But hold up. That doesn't mean that she can't, for lack of a better term, I mean, that doesn't mean she can't be a good worker. You know what I mean? Like,
She could be a good worker, but a good
knock.
worker doesn't make you a great star. It doesn't make you like a Trish
No,
Stratus.
it doesn't. But listen, this notion that you need to be a star to be a champion is false. You don't have to be a star. I don't need Lacey Evans to be a star. We just need her to be believable enough to carry the title for 3-4 months. I think she can do that at least one point in her career. That's all this is about.
And then we'll see it, and that'll be put to the test. We'll see if she wins the briefcase tomorrow night. As for the men's match, we have Aleister Black, Daniel Bryan, King Corbin, Otis, Rey Mysterio, and AJ Styles, who returned from being buried in that Boneyard match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania and won a gauntlet match to earn the last spot in the match after Apollo Crews had to be removed due to injury. Just going over the lineup here as to my thoughts on who's winning this thing. King Corbin, I'm counting out because he already did win the briefcase 3 years ago. Same with Daniel Bryan, who did win the briefcase back in 2011. Otis is only in here because of the surge of momentum he's had these past few months. And while I do like the guy and want to see him succeed, he's not going to win here. As for Rey Mysterio, he's at the last leg of his career. He's in that veteran role in this match where he'll get a few good spots in and nothing more. He doesn't need to win. So from the way I'm looking at it, the only two feasible options here are Aleister Black and AJ. I will be perfectly fine with Black winning here, and I get that he's a babyface and his character doesn't quite suit holding the contract around, as I've heard some people point out, if he were to win. But you can have him announce in advance that he is going to cash in his opportunity at the championship against McIntyre for SummerSlam, the same way RVD did.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can work around that for Aleister.
Yeah. I mean, Aleister is a man of honor, right? That's what his character is built around. So he's not going to be a pussy-ass bitch and just, cash it in like Seth Rollins did, or like a CM Punk did, or Edge.
Exactly. He's not an opportunist.
Right. He's a head through the wall kind of guy, right? So and he's been on record saying he wants the smoke, he wants the competition. Well, you don't get that without having a briefcase like that. So that ultimately catapults him to the top, and the top guy right now is Drew. So and that's a blockbuster match, man. I remember Yeah, I remember NXT, man. Like, you guys remember the days of NXT, man? Like, that's a match that you'd see on a star-studded takeover, and I'm kind of happy right now that there's a chance that shit could happen this summer. I can't wait.
Yeah,
Yeah,
honestly,
for the biggest prize in the company too.
yeah, no, honestly, this is what I'm talking about when we're talking about chances. Aleister Black cuts great promos, is a great in-ring wrestler, has a great character. Like, you don't even need to, like, he doesn't even need to cut a promo or barely show up to Raw for you to know who the hell he is. He is just that talented. He has just so much talent that I'm just so happy that he's finally getting some kind of push. If he gets, I really hope that he gets this Money in the Bank thing, because if he does, I swear to God, Drew McIntyre and his rivalry will be the greatest thing. Like, I think Seth Rollins wouldn't even have to be in the picture if that was there.
Oh man, I agree. So I agree 1,000 times, man. 1,000 times.
I got no problem with anything that anybody's saying. They're right on the money. I just want to put this in your head, because we just discussed Drew McIntyre's character a few months ago as a champion, right? Let's say hypothetically Drew McIntyre is still champion till SummerSlam. Let's say by SummerSlam, right? And AJ Styles wins, right? Do you think that AJ Styles would help Drew McIntyre as a better champion if he was in a rivalry, or since he won Money in the Bank against Drew McIntyre, or do you think Aleister Black would do it better?
I think
I think it would
Aleister.
be AJ.
Well,
It'd be AJ.
AJ
has
could elevate
decades of
him
experience in the ring.
because it would just be like a mentor. I feel like that it would be like a mentorship thing. But I
That's what he
really,
needs.
but we can't say that he needs that yet, because we need to see him kind of become his own champion. We haven't seen that yet because
Actually,
of the times that we're in
here's
right
why.
now.
I got you. Check this out. We've seen Kenny brought up NXT, and he's right. I remember the time when they fought each other in NXT. That shit was money, right? But Drew McIntyre has never fought a person ever that has never fought a person that has already been established, that's already been champion, and has been top of his game since jump. He's never fought a guy like that from start to finish. So the fact that I brought up AJ Styles, I honestly don't. I agree with everything you guys are saying about Aleister Black and him winning Money in the Bank. I will have no problem with that. But I will definitely have no problem if AJ wins Money in the Bank, because we talked about on the establishment of Money in the Bank. If there was one person in that Money in the Bank match that I trust with my life, that has a chance to bring Money in the Bank, bring back relevancy towards that, it's AJ Styles. Because he knows when to throw an opportunity when it counts. And he knows how to cut a good promo. And he knows how to make better matches, almost better than anybody in the roster today.
Go back to his rivalry with Cena.
Exactly. I believe that AJ Styles could bring out the best out of Drew McIntyre once he cashes in on the Money in the Bank match. So when that happens, he gets in a rivalry with Drew McIntyre and will elevate Drew McIntyre in the long run.
I'm going to disagree there. But the reason why I'm going to disagree is it would be better for them to have a storyline where AJ is more consistently in and not just a Money in the Bank match. Like, it would, like, AJ could still, like, I feel like for him to fully reach a mentorship from AJ, like, they would need to have a storyline where AJ still just fucks with them, as opposed to just a Money in the Bank rivalry. Like, I feel like you could still give that to Aleister Black, because Aleister Black could still come in whenever he wants just to make his presence near. But for him to fully kind of gain something from that, it would have to be like a storyline where he's consistent and it's just not just Money in the Bank.
All right, check this out. Right, I agree with you about him being consistently there. But here's the thing. SummerSlam is part of the Big Four. AJ Styles, I think he's a part-timer, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. In terms of the Big Four, AJ Styles will show up for that, including for the weeks coming up to
Because
to
Money
some
in the Bank, you can prolong that, so it doesn't have to be cashed in.
Now, I understand. But the reason why I bring up the Big Four in general is that AJ Styles could pick and choose of when to do it consistently. If Drew McIntyre consistently proves to be himself worthy as a champion and AJ Styles wins, you got to show what you're truly worth against a big-time player like AJ Styles. And that's why I brought up him, right? We bring up names like Seth Rollins, and obviously Drew McIntyre beat Brock Lesnar not too long ago. But in terms of facing a true veteran like AJ Styles, that'll show the true worth. And AJ Styles can make people better, just like Charlotte, just like Cena, and just like everybody else. I think AJ Styles can legitimately make Drew McIntyre the superstar he could be, that he could truly be as him being WWE champion. Not Black, not Rollins, but AJ Styles.
All right, so let me ask you a question then.
Yeah.
What's wrong with AJ, doing that, after Drew's rivalry with Seth? What's wrong with him doing that right after?
No, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong because I'm only talking about about Money in the Bank. If Seth Rollins does it to Drew McIntyre, then this is all good. But I think AJ Styles has something that Seth Rollins doesn't have, right? Which I think AJ Styles.
But the thing is, though, I still think it should be Aleister Black only because he needs that push. He doesn't come into the picture of the title unless he has that Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
You could still bring AJ against Drew anytime, and that's what I'm saying. And it would be more consistent. But if Aleister Black doesn't get that title, then there is no point in him even being near a title shot.
And
there
also,
isn't any rivalry.
That's correct. Yep.
And also to add to what Tara's been saying, this is a long time coming for Aleister Black because this is now the chance for him to become a top star by winning this briefcase. Paul Heyman's been very high on him ever since Paul Heyman started to do the storylines for Raw. So the fact that Aleister Black is my pick to win the men's side of things.
Because his whole character.
And not only that, from jump, Aleister Black has been pushed heavily for this one match. Heavily. So
but his character is just so badass. Like, how the hell can you not I'm just shocked he's not like.
You guys brought up valid points. I just brought up like a point if a veteran in terms of AJ Styles could do it because I think it's a win-win personally. I think it could be a win-win.
I did hear like an interesting point of view when I was listening to like Tama Tonga's podcast this last week. And it was weird because they were talking about Money in the Bank and, they were saying that like, as weird as the concept is, it's like a fun match for wrestlers. But I did see like, they did make like a reference on how WWE is like notorious for trying to be more towards comedy ever since like the 80s. And a lot of their stuff, it's not really taken seriously only because they always try to go for a comedic angle with everything that they do, even with like their serious rivalries. So it's weird because ever since they've made that like comparison, I can't stop thinking of like this whole entire thing essentially just them trying to be funny, and it can go so left with what it's going to be presented. Like this is like it can be a cool concept, but I feel like they're going to execute it poorly by trying to be funny.
Yeah, I guess.
Like I can't stop thinking like, oh my god, like they might butcher this.
We'll see what happens.
Okay. But to wrap things up with this portion of the show, who do we got to win officially? Because I have AJ Styles to win, and if I had to pick a dark horse, it would be Aleister.
Aleister Black for me to win.
Black for me, dark horse AJ.
Black, and it's not even close.
Black.
Okay. So those are thoughts with everything regarding Money in the Bank. We'll be posting our review on the show sometime Monday afternoon, which will be exclusive right here on YouTube. So again, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you can hear our thoughts on what occurs tomorrow night. And what seems to be a trend with the newly released wrestler from WWE who then goes on to appear at Chris Jericho's Talk is Jericho show not long afterwards to reveal so much about their tenure with the company, Cash Wheeler, the former Dash Wilder, and Dax Harwood, the former Scott Dawson, now rebranded as the Revolt, have done exactly that, as they were guests on Jericho's show this past week, and they gave us a lot of details regarding their time in Vince McMahon's empire from over the years. So here are some of our big takeaways that we got from listening to the podcast and some of the things they revealed. For one thing, they actually lied about asking for their release last year. As we all remember early last year that both these guys were frustrated with how they've been treated in WWE, and the reports surfaced of them asking for their releases. But at the time, they dismissed those reports, saying that they were doing just fine in the company. Here, they revealed that they straight up lied, but that the rumors aren't true at all. And, you know, I can't say that I blame them for doing that because I really wouldn't want all that attention and publicity for something I may not even get, which is the release from WWE. Another thing that I got from this podcast is that they thought the WWE tag titles meant jack shit. They outright admitted that their main reason for wanting to leave the company was the lack of care that WWE has placed in their tag division, even going so far as to name drop Braun Strowman and them booking him to constantly destroy all the tag team division all in one swoop. Then they brought up the case of a 10-year-old winning the titles. Yeah, that was pretty stupid. They even revealed that they did not even want to hold those tag titles because they know that it would be a failed title run with them and it would not mean anything in the long run, which, you know, is a very valid criticism. They also revealed that they were offered a lot of money to stay in WWE, a lot of money, which we knew for a while. You know, those reports were surfacing for a long time now that they were offered a good amount of money. They admitted that WWE wanted to keep them from signing with other wrestling promotions and keeping them in their grasp. And how did they do that? By throwing them a shit ton of cash. And they said that they were offered more than $700,000 per year to stay with them. And, you know, funny enough, Dax actually revealed in the interview that his grandmother helped him decide what to do and whether he should take this lucrative offer or to branch out to other promotions. He mentioned here that she told him, "That's a lot of money, but David, how much money do you really need?" And that was all he needed to hear to make his decision. Another thing that they added here was that the potential new gimmick had they still stayed with the company. So I'm sure everyone's aware by this point that photos were leaked not too long ago of the new gimmick and design that WWE had planned for both Cash and Dax. And we all just shook our heads and were even more glad they left when they did, let's just say. Oversized hats, do-rags, bow ties, basically a huge departure from how we viewed the Revival as in WWE. The storyline to get to that new gimmick would have been that both of them would have been frustrated that you need comedy to get over in WWE. So they pursue that in order to get some TV time. And, you know, they admitted that they didn't like it to the higher-ups, but they're willing to do the gimmick for the duration of their time in the company, but that they're not re-signing. So they let WWE know that they shouldn't be expecting that. They also revealed that after getting their releases, they received a text from Bret the Hitman Hart stating that he was very proud of both of them for sticking it to Vince. And if anyone can relate to that sentiment, it would be Bret Hart, considering his own history with WWE and Vince McMahon. Now, they also revealed that if there was one person that always had their back when he was still around, it was Dusty Rhodes, the late, great Dusty Rhodes. He saw something special in both of them. He knew they had what it took to succeed in wrestling, and they revealed that he wanted them badly to stick to each other and so they could stick it to the higher-ups in WWE by getting over and becoming stars with their gimmicks. I feel like I'm just the only one talking here. No one's got anything to add?
Not because
we're just waiting for you to, you know, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I got it.
Are you through with the analysis?
No, there's a couple more points I got out of it.
Oh, okay. All right, please continue.
Okay. All right. Jericho at one point did ask the two during the show that who are some tag teams from other wrestling promotions that they would love to square up against. And they name dropped the Briscoes from Ring of Honor, the Gorillas of Destiny from New Japan, but chief among them being, surprise, surprise, the Young Bucks. which should be no surprise really to any of us. Speaking of the Young Bucks, they also let it be known that neither of them, neither Cash or Dax, were expecting the hashtag #fuck the revival phrase at all from the Elite when it was first coined on being the Elite on their YouTube channel. It was a complete surprise to both of them, and it seemingly came out of nowhere.
That was so disrespectful, but I'm not even going to say anything about that yet.
Yeah, I mean, they're not, and if nothing else, they're not. It just goes to show that they reveal that they're not really harboring any resentment towards them for it, at least not anymore. And the last thing that the last takeaway I got from this interview was that both Cash and Dax credited Chris Jericho himself and Christian big time for showing that they can leave WWE and become a big star in a totally different promotion. Yeah, Jericho himself is still extremely relevant to this very day, still representing a lot of things that are great with AEW right now. And it's ironic, too, because they actually revealed here that they did have heat with Jericho a few years back. I think it was late 2016, they mentioned, for using their Shatter Machine finisher, which was really a flapjack into a code breaker. Jericho was not really fond of them taking his main move at the time. But, they all since made up. It didn't really, as you guys could see, because they did go on Jericho's own show and, spill the beans on everything going on with them currently and what they've been dealing with in the WWE system. Overall, a really entertaining and insightful listen into what's been going on with the former Dash and Dawson and their time in WWE, as well as getting to hear their frustrations that they've had with the company. Now we wait and see what the future holds for Cash and Dax.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And this brings me back to a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the Revival, well, now the Revolt, and Luke Gallows and Anderson, about how, the contrast between the two teams and, how one team should obviously be at the forefront of this whole thing and the other team should just take a back seat. And it looks like that's happening now, right? Because we're hearing news about how, Gallows and Anderson are going back to New Japan. So, yeah, it looks like this is the Revolt's at least industry to stay, because right now I feel like they're the hottest tag team in the wrestling industry today. So with that said, I wasn't surprised by any of the shit that I heard. Vince this, creative that, tag team championships not meaning anything. This comes as no surprise. I mean, we've all seen this. Like this, like if you want to confirm what they're saying, just watch the fucking show. Right? It's been a shit show for years. And this just felt like a relief. You know what I mean? Like as a fan, it just felt like a relief because now we get to see the true prime of one of the greatest tag teams we have ever seen.
I agree. So pretty much based on the interview they had with Jericho, they just pretty much like showed their disgust and how unuseful they were used in WWE. Pretty much showed their true colors, and like this is going to be a blessing in disguise for them, because Kenny is right on the money saying like on how they're going to show their true prime, because in sports, when a person is not being used, being disrespected, or whatever, they are starving for opportunity. They are hungry, right? They are hungry. You know what it's going to remind me of? But it's obviously different because in terms of eras. Kenny, and everyone else, do you remember at the time where Kevin Nash and Scott Hall invaded WCW, but had the story as if they were still in WWE? Like the outsiders.
Right.
Right? The Revolt could potentially use that to their advantage and upgrade them to greater heights, and possibly in AEW or Ring of Honor or New Japan Pro Wrestling or wherever they might go. Because immediately when they jump into the new scene, wherever they might go, they will be the talk of the town. They will potentially be top 5 tag teams in the game by default whenever the wrestling promotion they step into, no matter if it's AEW, Ring of Honor, New Japan. Everybody will be talking about the Revolt and how they will be starting for the opportunity. They will ultimately be better based on their demeanor whenever they debut, and they'll be either, I would say, top 3 or top 2 teams, no matter, depending on, based on time, obviously, on how they go about things, because they're starving right now and they want to prove their worth. So I agree with Kenny in terms of based on what he's saying.
The one thing I got from the interview that they have with Jericho is that, like, everything that they said was valid. The one thing that really got to me was the way that they talked about the tag team division in WWE. And it's truly sad at the fact that WWE really doesn't care about the tag team division, because Ricardo knows where I'm getting with this. There was a time where a tag team division was at its peak in the early 2000s and stuff like that. And the fact, fast forward many, many years later, like, they, in a very, very long time since Attitude, this is the best tag team division that they've seen. It's just that they're not using them properly, not only to them, but also how they portray the tag team titles. Like, you're just tiptoeing the tag team titles over and over and over again to the same teams, whether if it's a New Day or the Usos and stuff like that. Like, and it's pretty sad how at WrestleMania 34, they treated the tag team championships as a joke. So from that being said, WWE, knowing WWE that they do listen to Jericho's podcast, obviously, they should really take this into consideration and revitalize the tag team division as it was once before, back then, where it was.
Nah. Keep that same energy. Keep
No,
that shit.
because, well, my thing is, it's like what I said about the whole comedy thing. Well, right now they're lost with everything that they're doing. Even their main titles are just jokes, and it's not even like they're trying to be funny on. I don't think they're trying to be funny on this one. I just think it's just coming off as a joke because of how everything is booked. Like, it's not just one division that sucks, it's every single division. Even like the main women's championship title doesn't mean anything. Like, that's a championship title. They're lacking all over, and I mean, it does suck for the Revolt now. Oh my god, that is so weird to say. It does suck for them because they never really had the chance to break through as a tag team because they were only introduced in WWE. So I mean, it's going to be interesting to finally see them go up in an actual, like, have their shining in like a promotion that actually takes wrestling seriously. Because if you really think about it, if you look at other companies and then put it towards WWE, other companies have this area where they actually take wrestling more seriously than WWE does, in a sense, if that makes sense. Like, there's a different tone with how they set stuff.
Right.
No, yeah, there is absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. You guys all made good points. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds for Cash Attack, as I said earlier. Because they actually met, and I didn't mention this earlier, but I'll mention it now, that they don't really have a certain place in particular they want to stay at and dominate their tag team division. They didn't really name drop a whole ton of wrestling promotions, but they did mention AEW, Ring of Honor, and possibly New Japan. But we'll see what they have up their sleeve. They might, like they said, they may not want to stay too long in one promotion and just do their thing there and be limited there.
Yep.
WWE has announced a new limited series revolving around The Undertaker, titled Last Ride. It will be a 5-part docuseries that will give us a behind-the-curtains look into the man behind The Undertaker character, Mark Calloway, at his most vulnerable. The first episode will be airing on the WWE Network following the Money in the Bank event tomorrow night. That episode will revolve around Undertaker at the time of WrestleMania 33 in 2017, back when he fought Roman Reigns in the main event. You know, this is great. We never had a proper behind-the-scenes look at The Undertaker and who he is as an individual, because Mark Calloway has always been someone who stays true to his persona and doesn't break kayfabe and go on a typical interview or podcast that any other wrestler would do and expose himself and the wrestling business in the process. You know, when pro wrestling pulled back the curtain on kayfabe over the past few decades substantially, to the point where it's pretty much dead right now, Undertaker was the last person who never really gave into that and stayed true to his character. Just goes to show the type of loyalty that Taker has, not just for himself and his character, but for the wrestling business as a whole.
I want to say that this is a great thing because, like, I'm watching I know, like, Richard, you don't watch basketball, Terry, you don't watch basketball, but, like, I watched The Last Dance from Michael Jordan, and it's a phenomenal documentary. Anybody who doesn't watch basketball, I agree. I feel y'all, but y'all should watch that at least. But for Taker, it's going to remind me a little about that. But what I'm truly looking forward to is why this man isn't retired. That's the main thing I really want to know. Why isn't this nigga retired? Because you're going to see different superstars that we don't normally see, like potentially a Brock Lesnar, potentially his parents, potentially like stars that he's wrestled way back that he still keeps in contact with. You were like, and the multiple injuries, and including also in that, I found out yesterday from a news source that I follow from YouTube that's really reliable, by the way, that Taker almost died in the match with Goldberg at what's that place called? Super Showdown.
Yeah.
That he almost died. It was
You didn't know that?
He said that himself.
No, he said like you didn't know that.
Yeah, you didn't know that. You know, because like on the interview, remember that?
No.
Ricardo, she's asking if you
If you
did you
know that
just figure that out?
Oh, did I know that? Oh no. Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Oh,
Absolutely not.
I thought everyone knew that. I was like, what?
No. But he said Taker said on the interview specifically on that time, like also in a moment in the match, because it was the moment when Goldberg tried to do the jackhammer, and obviously that shit was botched, right? Because he said he felt everything on his body was going upside down, and he felt like everything in his body was going downward, and it was rushing towards his head. And obviously, that towards that jackhammer, he landed wrong, obviously due to that. Them dumbass motherfuckers, right?
Yeah, they both landed on their heads.
They both landed on their heads, exactly, right? So you're gonna see more depth into that series with Taker, and hopefully it's gonna turn out pretty good.
For me, like it's gonna be very interesting because this series is a 3-year time span from 2017 all the way up until now. And it also gives us, the fans, a really good, interesting look, not only in his life, but also a lot of questions, like other questions such as, how is his relationship with Michelle McCool after this ordeal? What is his life based on? The most important part that I'm looking into, his relationship between him and Vince and stuff like that. His relationship.
Well, Vince McMahon. Well, we kind of know the relationship.
Yeah, we know
already.
the relationship.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about. Hold on, I'm talking about like in-depth relationship between him and Vince. Like, how is it?
I definitely get what you're saying. Yes, I get what you're saying. How do they operate together? How do they function together? Yes. What is their status on that? But I'm just saying that we kind of know already because Vince, and I'm getting at it from the basis that Vince even named Undertaker as his favorite wrestler of all time.
Of all time.
He said that before.
Taker's a ride or die. He had Vince's back since jump. That pretty much validates the relationship. So to be honest with you, I don't give a shit about how their relationship is. I care about how his health is.
I kind of want to know why he's like wrestling too. Only because like when Ric Flair wrestled, we knew why. It's because he overspent money. He didn't really have. He needed the bread.
What is his motivation? Why does he keep coming back? Yes.
Yeah.
Listen. Taker don't need no bread.
That's what I'm saying.
Let's just
like,
get
why
that
are you
out of the way.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you know what I mean?
Because,
like, Ric Flair needed bread.
Because Tara, to be honest, who's gonna tell the man to hang it up? Like, are you gonna do it?
Bro, he hung up his thing like so many times. Like,
I understand that, right? But I understand that.
He even said, "This is your yard."
But he's not even in the Hall of Fame yet. So, like, are you gonna be the one to tell Taker, yo, Taker, hang it up, bro? You're done.
He's not even putting on matches like freaking Dustin Rhodes. All right. He is putting half-ass.
I agree.
All right, damn, I'm winded. You might need I need to hold up a second. Be knocked out like for 5 more minutes because I'm a little winded.
It pains me. It pains me to see one of my, favorite all-time superstars like this, And I wish
be a ghost. He is literally just like a winded old man.
I wish he would have retired 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I truly do, but it's not the case, right? And I'm not going to tell him to hang it up. No one is going to tell him to hang it up. He's the only person that's going to tell himself to hang it up. So let's just sit here and enjoy the last ride.
Facts.
Because for no question, guys, we're gonna learn a whole lot about who Undertaker really is in this limited series, which is what I'm definitely looking forward to.
Right.
AEW Dynamite was live this week for the first time since mid-March. They took the show into Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. I believe it was located at. So it was a different atmosphere than what we've been getting lately. The reporter getting all excited there. The show this week, as a result, had a much livelier feel to it. The show started off with Cody against Joey Janela. They had a good back and forth. Never really cared for Joey Janela much, at least in terms of in-ring.
Oh,
this is one of the better matches I've seen from him, for sure.
But I have to say, that nigga is trash. Joey Janela is trash.
Who I was saying that to, but I don't know, just something about him. I just don't like him.
That nigga is straight garbage.
The only thing that Joey Janela should be in is hardcore matches. Okay? Anything other than that, I'm not really interested.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, it's kind of like with another wrestler over there, Jimmy Havoc. You could argue the case for him. Like, he's not all that great in the ring, but in terms of hardcore matches, that's pretty much his shtick and what he should stick to.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But just to move on here just to continue on with the match, Cody hit a nice moonsault from the top of the ramp onto a standing Janela at ringside. Finish here was Cody nailing the crossroads on Janela for the W as we head into Double or Nothing and his match with Lance Archer to become the inaugural AEW TNT champion. Nyla Rose came out and proceeded to squash Kenzie Page, who was 18 years old I should say. Toyed her around, gave her a brutal German, followed by a swanton from the top rope, which looked nice, but she continued the assault afterwards. Rose gave Page the sit-out powerbomb for the quick win.
Nyla Rose. Yo.
Yeah, she's something.
She's impressing me every week, bro. Like, I had this.
Impressing you by what? By facing an 18-year-old and squashing her?
No. No. It's not because of that. No. Richard said that Britt Baker is the only person that knows who us fans know who she truly is, right? I was like, I don't know about that because when I look at Nyla Rose, I can see what she truly is right now as champion. I'm not talking about the competition that she faced because there's not that much good females in AEW because we all know that. But I was like, other than Britt Baker, who's better than Nyla Rose in the roster? In the female division, there's no one better than her.
I mean, I'm not going to say a huge fan or anything, but I am fond of Hikaru Shida.
Yep.
Shida's every time she's in the ring.
I believe Shida's better, and I believe Britt Baker is better.
Britt Baker is really seasoned. She has experience being like champion and on top. So that is one thing. That's why they placed her as champion in the beginning, when she first signed with AEW. I mean, Britt Baker is not so
much champion. You mean to say like she's like one of the big featured?
Yeah, like she was one of the biggest people that
in the women's division. Like
like when she first signed, that's when she signed to AEW, it was like such a big thing because she was gonna be one of the main people that was gonna be like basically building their women's division. Britt Baker is mother effing Wonder Woman. Let's get that straight. I don't care what anyone.
Okay, I want to say Wonder Woman.
No,
but
she is
okay.
Wonder Woman. First of all, she's
She
a real
is.
doctor.
She is,
She's
man.
a
She
real
is.
doctor
Are you kidding me?
and a wrestler full time for both.
Yeah.
For
Yep.
both.
Yep.
She's Wonder
That's,
Woman.
nah, that's GOAT status right there, man. Without a doubt.
I
Yeah,
agree.
automatically. But I guess like I mean for me, the one thing I like about Nyla Rose is automatically like if you compare her to someone like Nia Jax, that is supposed to be her WWE equivalent. And if you put her on
Agreed.
how she is very athletic despite her size. She's very athletic. She is killing everything. Like she's green, but she's learning. And I think that's one of the points that Ricardo is making is that she's getting better like every time that we see her. And I feel like probably like if you give her like another year or so, like she's gonna be killing it.
Yeah,
And she's gonna be doing it how WWE wanted Nia to be, but better.
Yeah. And the thing is, Nyla Rose knows how to use her body better than Nia Jax.
Yeah, basically.
I agree with that.
She's not just smashing things. She's like literally being more athletic
Agile.
about it. Yeah, it's there's like a difference to it.
Yeah, not for nothing. Nyla Rose isn't really exactly known for injuring her opponents, too. So,
I guess that's something.
but as to say, like, yeah. Mhm. But as we're going into Double or Nothing, it's not exactly too obvious who's next in line to challenge Nia for the women's title there. But it could be Hikaru Shida and Britt Baker in a triple threat. I could see that happening.
Okay.
After that, we had Jon Moxley, the AEW World Champion, against Frankie Kazarian of SCU.
Kenny's guy.
Both were feeling each other out in the beginning of the match. What was that?
No, Kenny's guy. No, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Some chops from Moxley early on. Pretty slow pace was the match. Kazarian looked to be selling the knee throughout and was laying out at ringside while the referee was tending to him. Kazarian fought Moxley back outside the ring, though Moxley gained the upper hand soon enough. He was going for a dive from the top rope to the outside on Frankie, but he caught him midair with a nice knee strike. Kazarian nails the unprettier for a near fall at one point. I think Kazarian locked in a knee bar hold to target Moxley's knee. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Finish came, though, when Moxley sidestepped the charging Kazarian, who hit the corner, rolled him over into a paradigm shift for the win. Now, this is pretty interesting. After the match, the members of the Dark Order ambushed and assaulted Jon Moxley. SCU came out to help him, but they were outnumbered and beaten down as well. Out slowly came Brodie Lee in a suit and tie into the ring, grabbed a mic, and told him he has what he wants, referring to Moxley, and challenged Moxley to a title match, who then replied, all you had to do was ask. And he got wiped out by a big boot to the face from Lee to end the segment. So they're going ahead with Brodie Lee against Jon Moxley for Double or Nothing for the AEW World title. It is interesting that they're going with this relatively soon, as Brodie Lee only came into AEW 2 months ago and hasn't really had any notable opponents as of yet. So this will be, you could really say that this will be his true test in AEW. The real question here is, do you have Brodie Lee win the AEW World title for Moxley, or have Moxley retain and beat Lee outright?
The answer, the quickest answer to that is yes. You have Brodie Lee win the title. I mean, listen, look, Moxley doesn't need to have the title for 6-7 months, man, okay? And the thing with the corona is, I mean, it's kind of rounding up, man. I mean, I truly believe that Moxley is, he'll have another title reign. But right now, Brodie's just hot, man. And giving him that title will really validate everything. Yeah.
He's hungry.
Also about Brodie Lee, it's like, it's really astounding how this dude immediately became a top name in AEW within 2 months than WWE did within 7 years. And that's a big...
But that also has to do with the fact that he has been... We know how badly WWE has screwed him up prior to him joining AEW. So he had all that buzz, kind of like Matt Hardy did.
Of course. And plus, this whole stigma that Brodie Lee is is doing, like the Dark Order and stuff like that. Like, and he's in this business attire. Like, he's like, it reminds me of like corporate ministry, like esque type of thing that he's going for in AEW. How in Brodie Lee, he's like Vince McMahon in WWE, and you kind of know the rest and stuff like that. His promos has been excellent. the way he's been going through in the ring and stuff like that. Is it a rush? Yes, but it's an interesting rush. So, like, we're going to see how it plays out within the next 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks of how it leads up to Double or Nothing.
Is it wait, hold up. Is it a rush? Like, do you think he's being thrusted into the spotlight too quickly?
So.
What?
No, I don't think so, because the thing is, ever since Moxley won the belt, who really stepped up for that title picture?
Okay. So what do you mean it's a rush then? What do you mean by rush?
No, because I didn't expect for Brodie Lee to get into the title picture this quick.
I did.
If you're saying it's a rush, right?
Because I saw, like, at the time after Revolution, since MJF won against Cody, I thought it should be like MJF going after the world title, right?
MJF won't be a champion for a little bit. Like, I think it's gonna take a little bit longer for him to become a champion, because especially when you have, like, so much better options, so much better wrestlers that deserve that position over MJF. Like, MJF is hot, but not as a champion right now. Especially when like the company just relatively started like a year ago. He's not the person to carry the company's championship.
It's not his time yet.
No. And
Exactly.
you don't put MJF in this spot exactly for those reasons. Are you kidding me? Dude's hasn't even been on TV for months. What? No, you don't do that. Absolutely not.
Also, I want to say this as well. In terms of Brodie Lee, Alba, you brought up about how the small build that you got to put in 2 weeks. Here's why I disagree. That they've already been building this for weeks instead of they got to build it for 2 weeks. The fact that if you look back on that promo that Brodie Lee did against Jon Moxley when they jumped him, he took shots at WWE while he was talking shit to Jon Moxley, right? They've been building Brodie Lee for weeks while they've been making Jon Moxley chill for months, right? The fact that Brodie Lee kept talking shit about his character, but most importantly, dominating on how he's going to take over the AEW brand and talk about his future enemies over the long run. You start with a champion like Jon Moxley, who hasn't been doing shit for weeks. They already been building this against especially a guy like Cody Rhodes, who knows both of them when they were in WWE, who knew how they were used in WWE, and using WWE's tenure and how they were used by using it to his advantage against two guys who knows how to talk, knows how to wrestle, and knows how to conduct themselves accordingly in this match, makes the match worthwhile to see what's going to happen in Double or Nothing. Also,
honestly, okay, go on.
Oh, no,
please.
Also, bro, my fault, Kenny. One more thing. Again, I want to add to Kenny's point about MJF. That was one of the best promos I've seen he has ever done. Okay? He talks shit about WWE, The Rock, Ric Flair, and Roddy Piper. Three of one of the most biggest talkers in the game all time. And he just shitted like that. He just shitted on them while trying to establish his status in AEW. That's what I love about MJF. And I told this to Richard. He thought I was bugging when I said this, but I want to see what y'all think. I think MJF is the best talker in AEW currently right now. I would take MJF over anybody in AEW as a talker in the game. What do y'all think when I said that?
Well, I wouldn't take him over Cody, but that's just me. That's just me.
Okay.
But he's definitely. I mean, if Cody is 1, MJF is 1A. So that it's almost they're almost on that same level anyway.
The thing is though, like he just needs he needs to marinate longer. If that's just it. Like he just needs to marinate longer. And I feel like right now they're still building up, like even though AEW is dominating wrestling, like they're still building it. So like he can't be the face of their champion just yet.
I understand why you say marinate, But I wouldn't say marinate. I think it's just about timing because like MJF and Cody Rhodes is smart enough to know that they are not putting MJF as a top name and or as a top champion with no fans. They are not doing that, right? That's why I think it's smart on their portion to not give MJF the green light for the title yet.
Right. But the thing is with Brody, and this is why Brody makes the most sense, man. The guy's been on it. The guy's been on a tier, right? Like who else is as dominant as Brody right now? The answer would happen to be the Murder Hawk, okay? But guess what? The Murder Hawk is in a championship match already. So who makes the most sense to have John go up against? It's definitely Brody, man, and it's not even close.
Well, that's
if you want to make a mark on AEW, you got to run through the champion, okay? And I'm not interested in seeing Brody challenge for any other title than the one he's currently going for.
I agree.
Well, I agree with that, but also the reason why I was saying not MJF yet is only if you really think about it, AEW is not ready for them to just have a cheap champion just yet. They're not there in their career because they've only been around technically like this is about to be a year.
Exactly.
This month is literally about to be a year. Like they need to kind of build up a little bit more before they can have like someone like MJF who isn't that great technically in ring, but could still pass it off as like this is our champion. Like they need to build him up more where that's why I said he needs to marinate so that way he can at least be able to become that person that can be a great champion without just making it look like it's a joke.
Right.
After that, we had QT Marshall against Lance Archer. Marshall was accompanied by Brandy Rhodes, while Lance Archer was accompanied by Jake the Snake Roberts, who, we haven't seen on Dynamite programming for a few weeks now due to the pandemic, which makes sense. He is in around his 70s, I think. Pretty one-sided affair in favor of Archer, toying around with Marshall throughout. Hit a big boot to send him to the outside. Marshall did get to show off a nice display of strength on Lance, even lifting him up for a suplex, which was pretty impressive. It was all for naught as Archer hit his signature crucifix scoop slam for the win as he heads into his match with Cody at Double or Nothing. Now, after the match, Britt Baker came from over the barricade and assaulted Brandy, laying her out with a DDT on the outside, knocked her out, then threw her into the ring. And then Jake the Snake Roberts, we see a shot of him coming into the ring with a long, thick snake. Now, I'm not fond of snakes at all, so kudos to Brandy for going through with this spot here. Roberts came into the ring with the snake, steps over Brandy, and laid the snake slowly over Brandy's unconscious body, and the snake was slithering all over her. Yeah. I mean, obviously the snake was was harmless, but still, I'm not sure I would agree to being in a position similar to Brandy in this segment.
That was a great spot.
Brandy's a team player. I'm not surprised. Brandy's a team player. Like, she is down for literally anything. Like, anything. And that's one thing that makes it so
big credit
great.
goes to her for going through.
Now, the thing, what I loved about the majority of this is that I'm sorry. Just before I get back to Jake the Snake Roberts, I forgot that guy's name that he's managing. I forgot his name just now. What's his name again?
Lance Archer.
Lance Archer. I love him. I love him, bro. He's a guardian angel of heels. Okay, I love the way he looks, right? But Brandy Rhodes and Jake the Snake Roberts, Abba, this generation just got a taste of what the 90s went through and when Jake the Snake Roberts was in his prime. I loved it. These kids don't know what Jake the Snake Roberts did back in the day, especially what he did to his opponent as a heel. Every time they put the snake on top of his or her body, every time he's done with them, it was just beautiful. It was just absolutely, positively beautiful. I loved it. And Brandy Rhodes, I got to give a shout out to Brandy Rhodes because she did her thing. She's a team player, just like what Tara said. And she has balls. No woman would do that. No woman would actually want a snake on top of her body, just laying there, right? But what Brandy Rose did, I gotta give credit where credit is due. I'd rather have her that lay down than what Stephanie would do, Richard. Like,
No,
Stephanie
but
would
she
never do
really
that.
is a team player. Like, even
Stephanie
if
would
you
never
see
do
her,
that.
even when she's with like Cody, like assisting him or being as a manager, like she takes a lot of hits. Like
Facts.
She does.
she is a
Yup.
team player. She will hold it down for AEW. She will do whatever is necessary to elevate the
Yeah,
damn show.
I
feel like-
gotta agree with Ricardo on this one, man. Stephanie ain't on that level.
She ain't doing that. Absolutely not.
Damn, Kenny agreed with Ricardo's point about taking a jab on Stephanie there for just to get a Richard. Okay.
Fuck Stephanie.
Nah. I mean, I'm not getting it rich or anything. You know, I'm just saying. You know, he praises Stephanie McMahon like a goddess. You know, maybe she is. I don't know, but I mean, I would have to. I mean, Stephanie ain't on that level. Like she could take bumps, she could take RKO's, but listen, Brandy proved that she could do that and then some.
Brandy will
All
take
right.
a steel chair to the head.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, and plus, she's getting better as a talker. She's getting way better.
Honestly, I think she's always been great as a talker. I just think
I
they
agree.
needed to get her in a
I feel
spot where she felt that she could actually, do some huge damage, and she did.
But the only thing I don't like about Brandy Rose is just like they try to portray her as a wrestler. I don't want that for her. I don't want that for her at
Well,
all.
she wanted
That's
to be. The
not
reason
her
why they're
ideal
portraying is
role.
because she wanted to do that. Like she
Yeah, I
wanted to
understand.
dabble into that whole thing as a wrestler because I think she was like training to be that. So
I feel you, but that's not working good for her. I think the best thing for her to do is stay on
be a
that manager. Stay on that manager role and uplift her stars, and it's working. It's working because it's establishing her as a very great manager, and she's uplifting her stars that she manages, no matter who it is, right? So like it's working. But Lance Archer, this man is a bad boy. This man is a bad boy. I'm telling y'all right now.
no,
y'all,
him
after
versus Brody.
After what he's done with this, I
Yo,
want
yeah.
this nigga to go against Cody Rhodes.
Yo, Tara,
I
you
gotta
just
see
brought up
this.
you just brought up a very good point that I've been checking that match off my dream match list for
Him versus
AEW
Brody.
for
Lance
weeks.
Archer
I need
versus
this nigga
For
Brody.
to
weeks.
Cody
Archer
Rhodes.
versus Brodie Lee. Oh my god.
I think that match is gonna happen though once Brody is champion.
Yeah,
To me,
I
I
believe
want him
so
to face
too.
Cody Rhodes. I want him to face Cody Rhodes, but Brody Lee just as good.
One thing I do like is that they do separate Brandy and Cody when it's necessary. So it's never like
That's true.
it's not like all the time like when Brandy's in danger, Cody doesn't come
Yeah.
out. Like Brandy still handles her own as her own character, and
Right.
that's one thing that I love that they did so
And-
beautifully.
And plus, you can see they're slowly going towards the Cody Rhodes route because he's facing his brother, right? The thing is, the fact that Jake the Snake Roberts put the snake on Cody's wife, and the fact that Lance Archer is facing his brother, Lance Archer got to do something low-key drastic to him to get enough to to bring in Cody Rhodes. So, and that's what I think that's going to happen. So, like, I would say Lance Archer got to do something kind of big here to make him elevate his character even more, so that Cody Rhodes will come into the picture and elevate Lance Archer. And also, the fact that Jake the Snake Roberts is in this makes it even better.
No, I see what you're saying, Ricardo. I could definitely see that happen in terms of their match at Double or Nothing itself. Something big to elevate him to that next stratosphere.
Yeah.
At Double or Nothing itself in that match. I could definitely see it.
Right.
Before we get to the main event, they did show some of the matches that are confirmed for their Double or Nothing pay-per-view event, including MJF against Jungle Boy, which I don't know about you guys. I kind of found odd that they announced the match and it'll be taking place at the event since I don't recall them really having a storyline together. I could be wrong on that.
I would just say it's just him like slowly getting back into the game. It's just like it's just slowly getting back into it. I wouldn't worry about that. He got the W for that one. That's an early prediction for the All or Nothing, and that's 2 weeks away. We already know who's the W on getting that shit. So we don't need to go over that match whenever you bring that shit. Whenever you bring that match up, you already know everybody's answer. Just move on when you bring up that shit on All or Double or Nothing when you bring it up.
Okay, and then we get to the main event. Oh boy, I can't wait to talk about this one right now. So it was Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara of the Inner Circle versus Kenny Omega and Matt Hardy in a Tornado Tag Falls Count Anywhere match. This is Matt Hardy's debut in AEW.
Why you
what happened, Kenny?
Because this is the Inner Circle's new favorite thing to do now.
The sex gods. It was the sex.
Amen to that, yeah. That's how they ended the show.
Oh man,
that shit was fire the way they ended the show. That was dope.
Yep.
Now I really like Matt Hardy's new character thing, which is out into different characters.
Yo, Abba, go on with the play-by-play, bro. Go on with the play-by-play.
All right, so to start things off, Jericho came out with his own baseball bat, had the Inner Circle logo on it. Match started off as soon as Matt Hardy entered the ring, a brawl ensued. Jericho brought Hardy to the stage and took him out for a bit there. We didn't see Matt Hardy was out for a bit. 2-on-1 situation with him and Sammy going on Omega. Sammy at one point starts breakdancing, which was fantastic because that suits his character well. Matt finally ran back and hit side effects on both Jericho and Guevara. Hits the twist of fate on Jericho. Jericho uses the baseball bat on Omega's back, and Sammy was going for a shooting star press, but Kenny got the knees up to avoid that. Hardy and Omega bring in a table and a ladder. And Hardy climbed up the ladder and landed on Sammy, putting him through the table with a splash, which looked pretty nice there. Jake Hager got involved at this point and started attacking Kenny Omega outside. They all brawled through the arena, making their way up to the seating area into the back. Jericho threw a big bag of ice on Matt's face, knocked him down backstage. Then they dragged him into an ice box and trapped Matt Hardy in there, so we didn't see him for another good while there. Omega came back and hit Chris and Jake Hager with a trash can to their faces. Sammy Guevara came back and threw Kenny into an ATM machine at one point and was able to get some cash out of there and wrap the bills around his fist and punched Omega with them. Which, I don't know how much more effective that was doing that, but, whatever. Omega fought back and proceeded to powerbomb Sammy Guevara full speed into a garage door. Looked absolutely sick, that spot was. But before anything else, Chris Jericho rammed this yellow storage box on Omega and knocked him down. All of a sudden, we see Matt Hardy reemerge from the icebox, and he gets into a golf cart and drives to where everyone else was located at. He runs into Jericho, and Omega, and this was my favorite part, never mind of the entire match, of the entire show. Omega gets into the cart with Hardy, and they proceed to drive to get to Sammy Guevara, who is just running away for his life.
That became
to get away from them.
That became a meme.
But it's already a huge trend right now with the wrestling community. But he ultimately got run over for them brutally. That was a sick, nasty spot that Sammy took when he got run over by the two. Best spot of the entire match. It was fantastic. But moving on, they go back to get Jericho, and Omega was going up on this construction platform that was in the area for a splash to Jericho through a table. But Jake Hager came back and prevented that. But Omega went for a moonsault and just took out everyone, including Matt Hardy, which looked nice. Kenny had Chris up for the one-winged angel, but the rest of the Inner Circle emerged and beat down both Hardy and Omega. They all powerbombed Matt through a table and took him out for the rest of the match. That was the last we heard of him there. They dragged Omega to the golf cart where Jericho was standing on top of, and he gave Omega a nasty powerbomb onto the roof of the golf cart, made a great sound out of it. Jericho then nailed the Judas effect to Omega and picked up the win for him and Sammy Guevara to close out Dynamite this week. This was incredible. It was all action, craziness, great use of their surroundings. All four of them did just pure entertaining. I was never bored watching this. They nailed it with this main event, and really it was overall a strong effort from AEW this week.
Yeah. Loved every single second of it, man. I could honestly, man. Some people went as far as to say this was the greatest. I guess. What type of match was it? Street fight.
It was a street fight.
Okay, yeah. It was the greatest street fight of all
Street Fight,
time.
we call that.
I'm not sure because I'm not an expert on street fights, but that's one of the greatest I've seen in a long time.
You know what I think made this so great? I think what made it so great was the fact that you had like the wrestlers, like that was the crowd, like the good guys and the bad guys. Usually when you have like a street fight and you go outside of the arena, it's just fans. But you had like the wrestlers that were good guys and bad guys coming in and they were participating as well.
Exactly, yeah.
And I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool that like you got them going like, boo, you suck, you suck. And then, or like they were cheering them on. So that was awesome too. And it was just, the way it was done was so tasteful. And I love the fact that Matt Hardy went and changed his gimmick like 20 million times.
Yeah, man.
It was
that was so funny.
It was just so out of the box and so like, what?
No, this was in terms of AEW. I want that you could tell that was the most fun Matt Hardy has ever done in a match. Like,
I agree.
I'm talking about the most fun he's ever had.
And Matt's been in a lot of matches, man.
Matt
he was
Hardy's
so entertained.
Matt Hardy's been in a shitload of matches all his life. But you could tell in that match made him feel young as fuck.
Yeah.
Right?
It made all of them feel young as hell. Like, it made, like, freaking Jericho, too. Like, Jericho.
I swear to Jesus Christ. I am praying this right now. Kenny, can you imagine if our boy Jeff Hardy was there? Oh, my God.
It's a wrap for everybody, man. It's a wrap for everybody. It's a wrap for everybody.
I'm telling you right now.
Brother Nero.
Look, me and Kenny are like, okay, me and Kenny are very logical when it comes to wrestling. But when it comes to our boy Jeff Hardy, we're emotional.
Yep. All objectivity goes out the window. For Charlotte and Jeff.
For Jeff Hardy, all objectivity goes out the window. I don't care how old he is. If I see Jeff Hardy in AEW, I'm watching that shit 24/7. I'm telling you right now, if Jeff Hardy, Lord, please let this man get out of his contract. He goes to AEW. It'll be a wrap. Oh, and I want to say this. Since we're about to go to, I want to say this. Until Abba, I want to ask you a question. We're about to hit NXT, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to get straight into NXT, and I want to say what I have to say.
Wait. No.
Well,
with all due respect, Ricardo, we haven't gotten Richard's thoughts yet
about
this match. Yeah.
My bad, bro.
So go ahead, Richard.
My bad, bro. You got it.
Anyway,
I was emotional.
Obviously.
Yeah, we see that.
So for the street fight, it was really the most hilarious street. Like, to me, it was the most hilarious street fight I've ever seen. Especially going back to Tara's point when Matt Hardy changed into Damascus, that other alter ego that he has, and then the best part, in my opinion, the best two parts was the moonsault that Kenny Omega did, as well as when Matt Hardy and Kenny Omega was chasing down Sammy Guevara in the golf cart, and then he got hit. And also, 30 minutes later after the AEW episode was aired, they announced that the next week, Omega and Matt Hardy is going to team up again, but this time they're going against Santana and Ortiz. Now, in my opinion, this is where Paige comes into play. So, Paige comes into play. I'm like, this is the first time we're going to see you in weeks. Paige is going to say, this goes back to my point last week. Paige comes back because at that time, we're going to be 2 weeks away from Double or Nothing. Plus, most likely, they're going to defend their tag titles at Double or Nothing. This is how Paige, I think, could play into this role. I'm like, yo, where the fuck were you? Where have you been? Shit like that. I need you here. I've been here busting my ass week after week after week and stuff like that. So I'm pretty much interested in what's going to be next in the tag team title picture to see where it goes from here. But in terms of the match itself, it was great. It was very open, and I'm really looking forward to see what's going to happen next, especially with the tag titles.
But hold up, though. Because in case you didn't notice there is this thing called
No, I know about the coronavirus, but it's
no. That's not even what I'm getting at. No, bro. All I wanted to do is get at this thing called bad blood. I think that's still going on, and as I can remember correctly, Paige is in that match, which stands to reason that this whole commotion about, well, where is Hangman Page or this and that is pretty irrelevant right now, given the just given the fact that they have beef with the inner circle, right? And it's a numbers game. Think about it for a minute. Hangman isn't the only person out from the Elite.
True.
Both Matt Jackson and Nick and Matt Jackson, they're both out too. They're teammates in this.
The Young Bucks aren't even there.
Right. So this whole thing where Kenny Omega singles out Adam Hangman Page, it doesn't work. Just due to the fact that Nick and Matt Jackson are not there, right? And Bad Blood is still going, like the feud between these two teams, the Elite and the Inner Circle, is still going on. So
I see what Kenny's saying. Yeah, like they have to stay a collective unit for the time being.
Exactly. The timeline doesn't dictate that they do that. At least not right now. We don't need a rift between those between the Elite. We don't need them to do that, right? We need them to be like this because we all anticipate they're gonna win anyway. They're gonna win.
And the feud between those two factions is so good right now. Like, it's hot. Like, this is what's hot right now, is the feud between these two factions.
Yep.
No one really wants to see the Elite fight. Like, I mean, that's kind of like a bittersweet, like, oh. But, like, right now, it's hot and it's working. So I feel like they need to continue this as much as they can because of who they're bringing in. And, like, I feel like every week it's like they're introducing someone new that's helping them out. So it's kind of cool to see that.
Exactly. Like, they brought in Matt Hardy, so you don't know who else is going to come into the fray.
Nope.
That makes the rivalry better.
But also, speaking of that, going back to what Abba said earlier about what they said about the car for Double or Nothing, because they also did announce the casino ladder match. And, like, I want to ask you guys a question. Who do you think should be in the ladder match, in your guys' opinion?
MJF. Obviously.
MJF.
Goes without saying. He needs to. I believe.
The first person that comes to mind.
Right, but the thing is, how are they going to do it? Because MJF already has a title match, right?
He doesn't have a title match. He just
not a title match, but he also. I'm sorry. He already has a match.
Yes.
Right. So I don't know how they're gonna fit that into it. Maybe they add this guy, the guy that they screwed versus Cody last week. What's
Darby
his name?
Allin?
Yeah, Darby Allin. Yeah, maybe they add that guy. I mean, he has to be in there, right?
He has to, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like especially if, like, Sammy Guevara is getting his push, like, Darby Allin is definitely not that far behind.
I mean, you could put a lot of guys in there. You could put Pac in there. You could put Darby Allin.
I forgot about Pac, man.
You could put Pac in there. You could put Darby Allin in there. MJF is in there.
Sammy Guevara.
I would put Lance Archer in there.
Yep.
I mean, Lance Archer in there. He's in the title tournament finals.
Oh, I'm bugging. You're right.
I know, but doesn't Pac actually live? Doesn't he live in Britain or something in the UK over there?
Yeah, I think so.
So that's preventing, with everything going on in the world, the travel issues.
Yeah, that's
all right.
what I mean.
How about this guy,
Wardlow?
Wardlow's been looking pretty good. So maybe you add him in just to spice things up a little bit. I mean, he's not going to win, but he's a viable candidate for sure.
True.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, and the thought just occurred to me. They have no less than 3 big monster characters in AEW: Wardlow, Brodie Lee, and Lance Archer.
And you know what? They needed that. Because you look at, like, around the list of guys they have, they never had that, big enforcer, right? So it was like Cody and then Pac and then Hangman and then Kenny. Like, none of these are big guys. You know what I mean? So it's nice to see that they're actually pushing some big guys to to new heights now.
For sure. Switching gears over to NXT, this show was built as a takeover-esque episode this past week with 2 title matches in Charlotte Flair against Io Shirai and Adam Cole against Velveteen Dream. And we also had the debut of Karrion Kross and Scarlett as well. So this was something to look forward to. Before all that, we had Johnny Gargano against Dominik Dijakovic. Gargano came out with new darker theme music, just like Candice LeRae did last week as a result of the character change. A shame, too. I loved Gargano's entrance themes. That was just synonymous with Johnny wrestling and his babyface character. But, it is what it is. Gargano was playing the Weasel against Dijakovic here, targeting the leg throughout. Candice came out at one point and distracted Dijakovic multiple times throughout the match. Dominik came back with a comeback, hit a sit-out chokeslam for a near fall. That was a nice spot there. Gargano took the turnbuckle pad off at one corner and sent Dominik face first into the exposed turnbuckle. He took advantage afterwards by hitting his slingshot DDT for the win. Very good match here. I was impressed as we continue the progress towards Gargano and Candice LeRae's new darker characters.
I think you can actually, make this work given the fact that, it's a fresh new thing that's going on now. And given putting the championship on a Candice LeRae and Johnny Gargano, it's not crazy anymore, right? Because they're new people now, right? That's the excuse. That's the excuse that you need to keep Johnny on the brand a lot longer than pretty much anyone in NXT history.
Yeah, you're right, man. I could definitely agree. I definitely agree with what you're saying. It's not at all not unfeasible to see Candice and Gargano fulfill their wishes of becoming both the NXT champion and the women's champion. I could definitely see it happening.
Yeah, me too.
We had Akira Tozawa against Jack Gallagher. This was part of the NXT Cruiserweight Championship tournament. They started off fast-paced with Tozawa locking in the octopus stretch early on Gallagher. This was surprisingly quick. Didn't last longer than 3 or 4 minutes or so. Tozawa hit a DDT counter on Gallagher on the apron. This was followed by a senton bomb that barely connected on Gallagher, but he picked up the win regardless. And then we get on to something I was definitely looking forward to. The debut of Karrion Kross and Scarlett. This was something I was heavily anticipating. We've been hearing about these two a lot with their issues over in TNA and their contractual status. For most of last year, they were a big deal as a result because they had a lot to offer to any wrestling promotion that had their hands on them. Scarlett came out with this goth persona and getup, and she was moving around bizarrely and mouthing off the entrance theme. Karrion Kross came out and looked like a complete monster, looked like $1,000,000, the guy did. He demolished a schmuck. They fed him here, gave him 2 belly-to-back suplexes, dropped him right on his head and neck area before locking in the cross jacket. Basically a variation of a sleeper hold, and he tapped out immediately. I would keep my eye on these two. Kross and Scarlett are definitely going to be big-time players for WWE, for now in NXT, though.
Kross and Scarlett's entrance was
fantastic,
amazing. And the fact that Triple H is putting all hands on deck with Kross and Scarlett is a big deal. And plus, his first official feud will be with one of the top guys in NXT, in Tommaso. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Kross and Tommaso is going to put in the table within the next upcoming weeks.
I'm looking forward to both of them being in NXT, see what they could do. Obviously, they were in TNA, but no one really here from this podcast watched TNA because that shit trash. But we'll see what they can do in the NXT field. So that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, and Karrion Kross and Tommaso Ciampa's impending feud. Something to look forward to. You can't do wrong with Ciampa as a great first opponent to establish a new superstar.
Right.
And then we get to one of 2 title matches that we've seen on this episode. Charlotte Flair against Io Shirai for the NXT Women's Championship. We've been anticipating this matchup for a good month now, and they honestly didn't give away too much between these two here. Action was okay overall. No spot in particular that really stood out to me. Just getting to the finish here, Charlotte decided to hit Shirai with the kendo stick and got herself disqualified in the process, retaining the title here. She beat down Io before Rhea Ripley ran out to fend off Charlotte, who went to the back. After the segment, they had Rio and Io brawl backstage, I guess as a way for them to show some animosity towards each other. But it made little sense to me why Io was so pissed off at Ripley. It's not like Ripley came out and caused the DQ herself. But it's whatever. Looks like the makings of a triple threat, so something to look forward to there.
The thing that I want to say about this match is, like, the only thing I can say about this match is that, like, because I'm saving my comments for later, because I wish it was a lengthy match and shit like that. And I just wish I could have seen more, because I was low-key looking forward to it, even though, honestly, Charlotte Flair versus Io Shirai is takeover worthy. Unfortunately, it was on television, just obviously the whole coronavirus pandemic. So the only thing I wish for is that, like, it was that takeover. But other than that, like, we have to see what we had no choice but to see.
Exactly. With the circumstances, with everything going on right now, it just didn't seem possible. Like, unless they really wanted to hold off on the match and just build it off until everything dies down with COVID-19 and everything,
Right.
and they're able to have the audience back with them. I guess this was the cards that they were dealt with.
I mean, I don't think, but I don't think it changes anything, though. I mean, think about it. Even if the fans were there, right? What do you got to work with? You know what I mean? Like, Charlotte's still gonna run through Io, right? Like, even if that match were to end cleanly, right? Let's just put that into perspective. If this match was to end clean, Io ain't winning. Period.
Facts.
So, yeah, if they had the match 6 months from now, sure. 5, maybe 4. But to be quite honest with you, man, I think it ended the way it needed to, because Io needed to save face. You know what I mean? I wasn't ready to see Io lose to Charlotte, right? I wasn't gonna condone that, and I was about to shit on that. But thankfully Charlotte, you know, kept the title by one kendo stick to the back, and then Rhea comes out. So now it gets interesting, because now Rhea has that
Visa card.
She has well, not only that, but guess what? She still has that rematch. You know, in the back end of her pocket. So hopefully we see something like that, and hopefully that holds Io at the back end, you know, because right now I think a program with Rhea and Charlotte makes the most sense.
I agree. It's the only rivalry in terms of the females that has depth, and it's the only that has depth. And, like, they rushed it with Io, even though it did show that it could work out with Io. It's that timing. It was the wrong time to do it. You feel me? Because the whole quarantine shit. So basically, let's just think that Charlotte has 2 contenders that she could work with in NXT so far. So I would say over time, as everybody else gets better in terms of NXT females, you can see possibly more contenders. But as of right now, Charlotte Flair has 2 contenders that she can fuck with for the NXT title.
Well, technically, yeah. I mean, they had to bring Rhea into the picture because, let's be real, I mean, if you really look at it, kind of like a board game of, like, chess, like, they're kind of out of moves on every single aspect of their shows. Like, so I feel like as far as placement, they really, 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 really have to be creative with these feuds, because if they don't, then after this whole thing with Rhea, they might be asked out on what to do next with Charlotte, because of how they haven't really built up anyone else to really be a contender for her.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, they could use. That's why I said she got 2 contenders with Io and Rhea. So, like, after she's.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. They have to be really careful, because if they do it poorly, or they get, like, kind of lazy, it might just be like it might just be like there's no moves left. on what they're doing.
The only way I think they could get lazy is if they do a triple threat match. If they do a triple threat match, then you're asked out, because at the end of that at the end of that triple threat match, guess what? You're done with Io and Rhea.
But I'm saying they gotta be creative, because at the end of the day, like, yes, you can have these two rivals, but after that, they better be building up someone else in that meantime.
Candice. We've already seen Candice.
They have to build up more. They have to keep building up more than just her. Like,
I know.
In that meantime, they gotta use that time to build some people up, because all they're doing is just buying time with Rhea.
I would say the next one would be Candice, or to a lesser degree, Dakota Kai. Other than that, that's all I can think of.
Because that's all it is. Like, that Rhea card is just buying time, because they're running out of options on what to keep relevant.
Right.
Yeah, all fair points. It's definitely got to be Candice up next. And I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised. I would be more surprised if they just do go back to Charlotte and Rhea without Io. Because from the way I looked at it on Wednesday, the outcome of the match, I anticipate nothing if not a triple threat match.
It's going to be a triple threat match.
It's got to be.
It's going to be.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and if you're Triple H, you better hope and pray that you got somebody to go up against Charlotte. That is if you're planning on, having Charlotte still keep the title through that triple threat match. If not, then you're okay, right? Go back to business as usual. Have Rhea, beat Charlotte again, or take it to Io Shirai.
Yeah, like I would say the only thing that they could do best is to possibly make Charlotte lose, and hand it over to I would hand it over to Io, because you would see what she could really do, and Charlotte will propel her. See, Charlotte will become the chaser towards the championship while still elevating Io Shirai. So we'll see what happens possibly if the triple threat goes down.
The GOAT doesn't need to chase the title, man. I mean, let's be real.
I said Charlotte.
Yeah, I know. The GOAT don't need to chase the title. She doesn't need to chase the title. For what?
I agree. But the only reason I said that is to elevate Io Shirai as a champion. That's it. I agree with this.
I definitely understand that. And especially if she's still in NXT at that time, it makes sense.
I think once she loses in NXT, she's going back to the main roster.
Right, exactly. And that's pretty much my mentality through this.
Vince
what I'm saying
wants her back into the main roster so badly.
That's what I've been saying. Like that's what I've been saying. Vince is not gonna let Charlotte stay for NXT for so long. She's gonna go back to the main roster.
Yeah, at some point.
She's mine, is what Vince.
But I mean, listen, if you're Charlotte, you're already on the record saying you're gonna run through the whole division, right? And to solidify yourself as the GOAT, you need that. You need to do that.
You need to do that.
So if they truly want her to be the GOAT, because by all accounts, we all think that, right? Like, we all think that they're trying to make her the greatest women's wrestler of all time, if she's not already is.
But the thing is, Vince doesn't view NXT as a great force. Like, he views the main rosters as that.
But I mean, look, if he doesn't, then the promos that Charlotte's been cutting about how NXT is the greatest women's division, then I mean,
if she's doing NXT, then that's Triple H, doing that for her. But I feel like for her, he wants her back. That's his main moneymaker.
Yeah, sure. But I'm gonna back up what Kenny's saying, because I agree with Kenny, because you can't say Vince wants her back, but yet Vince puts her in NXT to help Triple H. And if Charlotte wants to, in her promo says she's the greatest of all time, and she wants to validate that in NXT, you have to make her face almost every single female in NXT. So you got to validate your case as that. So I still think she's going to stay in NXT, honestly, because it will be so dumb, in my opinion, if she loses the NXT title and she goes right back to the main roster when she only fought two females.
Yeah, but when have has WWE ever been really rational? That's my point. Like, that's their main moneymaker. She's
agree with
not gonna
Tara.
just put
I'm with
her
Tara
in
on this one.
NXT. Like,
Okay.
that's her money. Like, that's your bread and butter. That's like putting John Cena on just NXT. They're never gonna do that. Like, he'll do it just to kind of lift it. Like, I feel like
Right.
he got, like, Triple H
No.
got her on borrowed time. But
Mhm.
like, I feel like, especially how like the women's division is doing so badly now, like Vince is gonna want her right back just to be like, wow, we're gonna be putting on greater shows now that we have an audience again.
And the minute that WWE gets the audience again, Charlotte's gonna go right back up to the main roster, and they're gonna use her 100%.
Yeah, that's the only name that's gonna be
despite she
drawing.
fought only 2 females.
Yeah, that's the only person that's gonna be drawing people to even watch the women's division.
Because right now in the main roster, there's not one woman in the main roster, champion or not. That's not like putting our eyes towards her.
And then I guarantee you, she's gonna cut a promo saying, "I went to NXT, dominated, and now I'm back here."
And I'm gonna dominate again and win the title for the 13th, 14th time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because you know that's exactly what WWE's building towards, of course. She got to beat her daddy's record.
Yep.
And what's wrong with that?
Not saying there's anything particularly
There's nothing-
wrong with
there's
that.
no-
I'm just saying.
nothing
I'm
wrong with
laying
that.
out her-
Saying that the
Alright.
possibility of her staying on NXT is very slim,
It's
especially
extremely
once that audience comes back.
Nah, because I was just getting an Abba's
Yeah.
point when he said that, you know,
Yeah.
she got to be the daddy's. So what?
Yeah. So what?
17-time champion. So what?
No, don't forget Cena, bro. Cena.
Nah, he ain't getting 17. He's already on the record saying he don't want 17, but that's fine. Charlotte's gonna get it.
Yeah.
Unless WWE insists.
It's happening, bro. It's happening.
No, I'm not
No, I
saying
think he's
I'm not
talking
saying
about-
it's going to
I
happen
think
one way or the other.
I think he's talking about Cena unless WWE insists, right? Is that what you're getting at? Okay,
Exactly.
yeah. So
Exactly.
So, right.
Cena may
He's
not
talking
say,
about it
Cena
with
may not
Cena.
want it. Cena may not want it, but if WWE really insists and they have him back for the time being, they'll do it. No question.
yeah. And I don't think Cena would be reluctant to be like, no, I don't. I'm definitely not going to take it. But
Exactly.
nah, I
it's
mean,
just
he's
one of
been
those
on
scenarios where he's going to be okay with it, but he doesn't necessarily want it.
right. He's going to be okay with winning it and then losing it the next night.
Like he did with the 16th world title reign. After that, we had Kushida against Jake Atlas. This was another match from the NXT Cruiserweight Championship tournament. This was pretty quick. Not much to talk about here. Kushida won after catching Atlas with a cross arm breaker, tapped him out, which looked pretty impressive to end the match. Finn Balor's back after 2 weeks after being ambushed by a mystery person, and we didn't get him against Velveteen Dream that one episode 2 weeks ago as a result. He stated that he initially thought that there were only snakes in management, which he's not wrong there on, if we're being honest. But it appears that they are also in the locker room, referring to the roster. He says he will find out who ambushed him. And he came out later on after Cameron Grimes' squash match, and he got up in Grimes' face after he said he would smack Balor in the face. And he got assaulted by Finn here to close out the segment. That leads us to the main event. Velveteen Dream against Adam Cole for the NXT Championship. Very fast-paced action throughout. It kind of felt like they were just rushing through their signature spots to get to the closer. Undisputed Era came out, but out of nowhere, Dexter Lumis crawls out from underneath the ring to scare them off, and he fought them off. At one point, he launched Roderick Strong into the referee, who was knocked down. Dream hit the Purple Rainmaker on Cole, but there was no referee to count the pin. Dream came off the top rope onto Roddy and Bobby Fish, came back into the ring. Cole hits the super kick and the last shot to retain the NXT Championship. I was fine with this. I was fine with what they did here. I would not take the title off of Adam Cole right now. I would actually have him hold the title until at the very least SummerSlam weekend.
Well, this is what I've been wanting to say about NXT based on what I'm seeing, even the circumstances or no circumstances. I honestly believe NXT will not be AEW.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Because like every week since they started, right? Obviously, AEW has been kicking their asses, right? for weeks, even with the circumstances. Even beforehand, it was nip and tuck, but then at the same time, AEW had the slight over edge in terms of viewership, right? Because they have, in terms of viewership, in terms of better stories, in terms of better matches, instead of seeing the same guys that we don't normally see per week, right? That's why I say like AEW has a better edge over NXT, and possibly might beat NXT like weeks to come, even with or without the quarantine, right? Now, in terms of NXT, I agree with you with Alba that it was rushed, obviously, and like I think in my opinion they should stop doing title matches like on TV, because they don't have a lack of time for the title matches, because it happened twice with Charlotte's title match and Adam Cole's title match, right? So like I would say instead of having two, just have significant one title match or by the case, because like if you only have one title match, I would say the NXT World title match if I had to pick one, because it's been a long time coming for them to pick one for the title match. So I would say lower the amount of title matches on NXT, and I think AEW would most likely beat for the weeks to come, with or without quarantine, to beat NXT, because their build and their roster and their story, most importantly, is better than NXT's right now.
You know, I'm not gonna lie, with WWE, I think what makes AEW so good is just the fact that it's not a lot to focus on. With
Exactly.
WWE, it's just an overload of everything. Like, it's just the 3 shows, and then it's like trying to focus on what is happening, what is relevant, it's just too much happening all in one, that it's kind of just like they're trying to be like, but we got this also, but we got this and this and this, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they're trying to put out more content and in a sense be like, we can give you this, but it's just too much to the point where it's just C+ effort put on everything. And
Exactly.
with the time constraints and all of that, trying to fit everything is just too much to work with and look at. And with AEW, it's just neatly packaged into what we get every week.
Right. It feels like a case of too many cooks on one weekly show. Like they're trying to fit too much in.
In addition, there's too many commercial breaks in NXT, which shits on the match. There's too many commercial breaks. There was 2 commercial breaks, 1 to 2 commercial breaks on the NXT Women's title match. There was also a commercial break on the NXT World title match, right? While on AEW, it's limited commercial breaks, and we get to see the entire length of the match. And if you guys really look at it, the last 10 minutes or 15 minutes on the main event of the AEW, there's no breaks. There's not one break. I see everything, right? And that's why I say AEW would beat NXT every single week, because they have consistency for themselves to build on. And the more maturation of other stars, like Lance Archer is on the come up, Brodie Lee is on the come up. Now, in terms of the women's division, it obviously goes to NXT, but in terms of the champion, Nyla Rose is obviously learning, and you have multiple stars like a Jericho, a Kenny Omega, now a Matt Hardy, to uplift the brand as a whole, as their main event stars, is growing every single week. So that's why I feel like AEW would beat NXT weekly.
Right.
I mean, I don't think there's any debates there, man. You know, and I don't think it's honestly that complicated. I mean,
It's not.
You know, just watch both shows, and you'll see the reason why AEW is going to be beating NXT time and time again. I would say the match itself, man. Yeah, great match. I enjoyed it. But it wasn't time for Velveteen to take the title off Adam Cole. Not by even a long shot. There needs to be a longer length of program there, and I think they're going to do that. So maybe at the next takeover, I believe that's when Adam Cole will drop his title.
No, a lot of people say that they feel that. Don't get me wrong, Velveteen Dream is a great superstar, but people feel that Velveteen Dream isn't the right person right now to take the title off of Adam Cole, because they've been feuding. We're in May now. They've been feuding since late last year onto now. So it's like,
yeah, but you got to understand, man, the corona did everybody dirty, right?
Of course.
So the timeline with all of this is fucked up. So you really can't say that. Give me some, like, okay, if not Velveteen Dream, fine. But you got to have somebody, right? So who's that guy?
I don't know. Like, that's the thing.
Right. So you can't bring that to the table without telling me who the guy's gonna be. If you're telling me if it's not Velveteen Dream, fine. I need somebody. I need you to tell me who it is. Then I need you to give me the answers. Plain and simple.
Not a clear, no clear cut answer right now.
And without Velveteen, like if the whole quarantine shit wouldn't happen, it would have been like this. If the quarantine was done, right, and there was fans, then we would be like, okay, Dream got the title, right? Dream got the title, and now who's next in line? I would have said Finn Balor. I would have said Adam Cole. I would have said Tommaso Ciampa for the championship, and the myriad of stars that's coming up on the come up. That way, he has a foundation to work with if there were fans, and because of the whole, if there wasn't the coronavirus pandemic. This whole conversation obviously would change if the whole shit wasn't happening. Coronavirus, I'm talking about, right?
For sure.
That way, Velveteen Dream would have a platform for a myriad of stars to work with over time. The fact that now the coronavirus is going down, there should be no title changes, no matter the brand, WWE, NXT, AEW, as of right now. No title changes, because there's no point of doing a title change because of this. So it is what it is. You gotta take it with a grain of salt.
Well, wait a second, Ricardo. Didn't we just get done talking back when we were reviewing Dynamite not too long ago that we would argue that Brodie Lee should win the title from Jon Moxley at Double or Nothing?
Yeah.
Actually, you are right. You are right, but here's why Jon Moxley could still win. Jon Moxley could still win because he could actually carry himself, because he's a main event star. He's the main event star, and he's one of the best stars in AEW that could carry the load. He's done it before, and he's a great talker. You gotta put us viewers watching on television to view you as a champion, despite he hasn't been there in weeks or not. Don't get me wrong, he hasn't been there in weeks, but I would still trust Jon Moxley, even if he regains the title, to still watch AEW as a brand. That's why it's a win-win situation. No matter if he wins or loses, I'm still watching him as a main event star, even if he isn't champion or he still is champion. He's proven that.
Plain and simple, gotcha. AEW has something that NXT doesn't.
Exactly.
And that's recognizable faces, man.
Right.
You know, and with that said, I truly believe, you know, a guy like Brodie Lee being AEW champion isn't the same as a guy like Velveteen Dream being a champion. Those are two different people. And not to knock Velveteen Dream, man, but he ain't Brodie Lee yet. He
has
ain't
no
on that level
foundation.
yet.
Well, actually, I think it's really, like I said, it's really because there's so much to focus on in WWE that it kind of takes away from NXT in a sense that it's just too much happening. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know where to look, you don't know what to do, and then it's like they're so focused on defeating AEW in a sense that it's just like they're trying to like spew out like a bunch of ideas into 1 week, and then when it comes out failure, it's like, well, what about this? You know, so in all fairness, it doesn't really matter because there's 20 other title matches happening, and in a sense, it sucks to say, but who cares? Whereas in AEW, it matters.
It's fresh. Exactly. That's the best way to put it right there.
Yes.
That's
You
the best
deserve
way
a
to-
round of applause for that point, man. You solidified it.
That's right.
Well said. Well said. Rich, what you think, man?
Spot on. Everything that she said was like on the money.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
so
just-
glad I'm just so glad we put her on this podcast, niggas. I'm just saying.
We pretty much had to, man. We pretty much had to discuss this. Yeah. But that'll do it for episode 17 of Wrestling Hypothesis. Thank you guys very much for listening, as always. As we mentioned earlier, we'll be back with a review of tomorrow night's Money in the Bank event sometime tomorrow, Monday afternoon. So if you want to hear that, lastly, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get our thoughts on the event. Until then, have a good one, guys. Take care.
Peace.
Peace out.